for the increasing the risk on that and the fact that it was called. Here's the problem: you haven't even begun to make the empirical case for that, and that's not. So the reason that people are
begun to make the empirical case for that, like you could, there's no responsibility in any public messaging ever in Peace Goes World. Then that must be the case, right? There's no responsibility ever.
Mad is the malicious aspect of it, the incriminating conduct, the call to CPS, not the fact that you've increased the risk minimally.
Wait, hold on.
That there's a potential risk, right?
Hold on. Wait, hold on. Hold on.
I really am trying to explain.
Well, you're filibustering, bro. Every time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you are. Like, so.
It's not even that he. Well, yeah, you could say filibuster. He's just bad. His explanations are very long-winded for no reason. And it's a little painful. Yeah.
Are you telling me right now that there is a 0% chance that someone in Denim's audience called CPS?
No, I'm not saying that.
So she could.
Did you understand? So when you say could, you're going to say possible.
So stop. So she could be partly culpable for CPS having been called.
No, not in my opinion. No, unless by what you mean.
You just said it was not 0% though.
Culpability does not totally turn on whether or not someone happens to emerge from a particular causal pathway in which they come from the community.
That's true, though, but that cuts against you. It doesn't matter if it came from her community or not. What matters is if she was encouraging the behavior that ultimately led to it, even if it didn't actually come from her community. But that cuts against you. Is he going to realize that halfway through the sentence? Hold on.
Or not.
Though.
Culpability does not totally turn on whether or not someone happens to emerge from a particular causal pathway in which they come from the community. Culpability relates to someone's actions at the time that they're taken. And whether, so right, at the time that she takes these actions, that's the time at which we analyze whether she did a bad thing, correct?
Of course.
Yes or no?
Yes,
of course.
yes.
Of course.
At the time she takes the action, that's the point at which you have to analyze the culpability of her conduct. At the time she says that, is there a significant chance in your mind?
No, it's not significant. No, don't add that word. I didn't say that.
So when all you say is...
It wouldn't even necessarily be significant. There was it was an easily avoidable chance, right? It was, you knew there was a significantly increased chance compared to what it would be otherwise.
Is there a chance?
Yeah.
That's trivially fucking true.
There's
a chance someone interprets your words.
No.
People are fucking crazy.
It's not trivial because...
chance is logical chance.
It's not trivial because we can't know. And so in the absence of certainty. Now, if Ethan knew for sure whose audience that person came from, and it did come from one of their audience, okay, like surely you would agree, like the fact that that CPS was called like within a week of that stream, and she wasn't the only one watching that, so it came from that space of the internet. Would anybody even deny that? Like,
is there a chance that it came from? Is there a chance it came from your community, Hutch?
Sure. Yeah,
so
sure.
You're just as culpable Dennis on it?
Do you think that the chances are anywhere close to the idea that it came from one of their audiences?
I don't know. I mean, do you have an intuition for that?
Okay.
My intuition
I'd have an intuition, yeah. I don't think it came from my audience.
My intuition
is that, like, it's probably more likely on the margin that
on the margin
it comes from one of these particular communities.
Yeah.
The point is, the mere chance that it comes from a particular community isn't enough for you to say that there's culpability. No, so you acknowledging, hang on a second, you acknowledging that there's a distinction between the risk factor with respect to you versus Denim's is you acknowledging that significance of risk matters, and that's why you can't ignore significance of risk. When you say I don't want to talk about significance of risk, well then you're just not playing the same game, because by your lights, if
it's not. I don't think it's significance though. It's like foreseeability and avoidability or whatever, right? Like if I were to hang a giant guillotine across the street and it were to spin like once, per night at 3 a.m., like the statistical chance of it hitting some car driving by is probably close to zero if it's like a small town and nobody's driving by. But if somebody happens to be unlucky and they happy to be driving by that one day and they get killed, like you can't use the argument, well, the chances are 0.00001%. So, well, no, you directly contributed to the environment that would have caused this to happen. It was incredibly obvious. It was very foreseeable. Your behavior directly contributed to it. It was easy to see that was contributing to it. Like, what? This is just dumb. Okay.
Significance of the risk doesn't matter. You and I are both culpable because it's possible, I guess, something we said triggered some fucking crazy person. So you need to talk about significant risk if you even want to get close to culpability.
I just want to get, like, because I feel like it's been 2 hours now about, like, we're trying to get what we're ultimately trying to get at was, was Ethan justified in being furious with these creators collectively? Like, that's the point that I'm trying to get at. No, that's like what this conversation is all about for me. I'm trying to, because wait, hold on. Because we're trying to unpack, like, whether or not Ethan's actions were justified or they fit what happened. This is like basically what we're trying to get at here. And I'm in a situation like this where you can't know and you'll never know. There's no way, unless the person came forward and admitted it and said whose community they came from, you just can't know.
Yep.
And so if you're in Ethan's shoes and you see a pool of, I'll make it up, like a dozen creators, and they're all making light of the situation, tacitly encouraging it, justifying it, making jokes about it. But you can't know which one specifically it came from. The point is, it could have been like any of them, plausibly. It could have been any of their audiences. And so in that moment, I understand being angry with like everybody. At the very least, I mean, surely you
surely you mean like you can understand his human emotion?
I would understand. No, beyond an emotion. I can understand in that moment wanting accountability, wanting to impose consequences for that violation done to me.
The question, Hutch, isn't whether you understand the feeling or wanting it. The question is it right to do? Is it right to file lawsuits in this context, or to do whatever act that we're gonna, if we haven't even breached yet and talked about, if you're not sure whether a particular person is culpable for the action, or is either, for example, intentional about what they're doing, or significantly increasing risk, right? Would you ever say that it would be justified to do something like otherwise bad or malicious towards
From now on, by the way, if you ever wanted to murder somebody, just take 10 friends, randomly ascribe, or not ascribe, but randomly assign a bullet to you, and then shuffle the guns around, and then all 10 of you show up and shoot at the person you want to kill at the exact same time. You don't know who shot the bullet. None of you can be charged with a crime, and you can't feel bad about any of those people because you don't actually know who fucking killed them. You'll never find out about it. That's Pisco's world.
Individual who doesn't have evidence that they intentionally increased risk or try to do it, or B, no evidence that the risk that they imposed was significant. No, you wouldn't. You have to examine the quantum of risk.
We literally did
to
increase risk.
I think,
but that's this is.
I think
retarded.
we evaluate responsibility.
Yeah, way differently. Yep, every human being does. Well, no, even Pisco doesn't agree with any of this.
So, just to be clear, is it your position today that?
Oh my God! Here comes
significantly increased.
Here comes the worst misstatement of all the arguments of all time. Here we go. Is it your position today that red is better than the color blue? Yes or no? Oh no, actually that would make sense because it's actually a yes or no question. He wouldn't even ask that.
Increase the risk that someone called CPS.
Yes.
In virtue of what?
In virtue of the. Why are you asking me this question?
In virtue of what?
It's the three factors. It's the three factors. I'll say them again though. Do you want me to say them again? I already said this. It's the three factors.
Yeah. So
number one, she platformed the Bad Empanada video and co-signed his claims. Co-signed onto them and expressed very, in my opinion, explicitly that she agreed with the claims. She then said that Ethan's kids might die, and she saw people in her chat making a call to action to like somebody needs to call CPS, and she refused to moderate. That to me,
do you have any evidence that she saw those? Do you have any evidence that she saw those messages? Do you have evidence that she saw?
Didn't she fucking read one? Isn't that part of what they were going? Now we don't even know if she. What's going on over here?
Yes or no?
No, we'll say no.
So you can't know. You can't know that she was refusing to moderate.
Oh my God,
dude! Constantly stares at chat. It's like a meme with her. It's constantly stares at chat.
You just said on your
do you think it's do you think it's plausible? Do you think it's plausible that she wasn't looking at chat at all? Had no idea what was going on?
If by plausible you think that it's reasonably likely, yes. I mean, I don't look at chat.
Reasonably likely? No, come on.
But based on, in virtue of what? You know that she like steadfastly, intentionally refused to moderate. Are you telling me?
Have you watched her content? Have you watched a lot of her content?
No, I haven't fucking watched it.
Hang on a second.
No.
This kind of blows my mind. I've watched a lot of Denim's content. You're saying you haven't watched a lot of her, like, at all? Like, at all?
Nope, he has no idea. He didn't even watch the fucking clip that you guys were arguing about.
Why are you speaking so confidently on this
Exactly.
stuff? Like,
he didn't even have the original clip.
Why are you giving your opinion about, like, well, doesn't seem likely to me if you don't know anything about her content?
True.
So
yikes,
there
super
usually
true.
is a requirement, right? If you're going to make a case that she intentionally, it's your claim, isn't it? That she intentionally refused to moderate those calls to CPS. Isn't it your burden to show that? Is it your burden?
I'm just a little lost. Hold on. I'm just trying to process.
Oh my God. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Don't you think it would help you in these conversations to spend some time like familiarizing yourself with these people, their character, their content?
Is it your burden?
You don't think that's relevant to the analysis?
If you make a claim,
constantly stares at chat and interacts with chat.
Do you constantly stare at chat? Do you constantly stare at chat and respond to it?
Yes.
Do you read everything that the chat says?
Not all the time, no. Okay,
so in virtue of the fact that someone tends to
if I'm having a conversation with you, but if it's just me and chat and I'm watching the video
and somebody says something disagree with, yeah, but then Hutch will call things out that he super disagrees with.
Tends to look at chat. Don't you have an additional burden? Oh my God! They actually disregarded. This risk.
So you're holding.
This is such a crazy. This is a joke, dude. This is such a joke.
That's what you're saying.
This is not real, dude.
Is it your claim or not? And do you have the burden? That's the question.
I'm not interested in this line with you.
Yeah, this is retarded. You shouldn't be interested because it's fucking retarded. It is preposterous.
You don't have a burden.
I don't think you should have such confident opinions when you don't know anything about these creators.
True.
That's my point.
True.
Wait, who made the claim? Did you make the claim that she disregarded and intentionally?
It's not about who made the claim. It's the fact that you showed up to contest the claim, and now you're saying that Hutch has an obligation position to make the case to you. We can do another legal analogy. Imagine you show up to jury duty on the last day of the fucking trial, and the fucking prosecution has asked you to convict some guy. And you're like, oh, well, I don't know anything about this. Have you even made the case? It's like, yeah, motherfucker, what do you think we were in fucking court for 2 weeks for? You weren't fucking here for. Why the fuck are you here trying to make a decision on it? You're the one who asked for the conversation. What's wrong with you? Not to mention the fact that Pisco's been having this fucking debate for months now. How can you not know any of the underlying factual stuff?
Didn't moderate, or did I make that claim?
Why wouldn't you familiarize yourself with her? Out of curiosity.
Between us, who made the affirmative claim?
No, I want to move past this. I want to move past the other thing.
I don't touch. I'm not going to move past it because you're making a claim and saying that I'm doing something weird by not watching all of Denham's comments.
Because you've said it before, though. You've said it before. Like, you made this conversation about.
This is so wild, dude.
You made this conversation about.
As between us,
I'm not going to go down this road with you. I'm not.
I'm not going to not go down this road.
You made this conversation about, like, whether or not his actions were justified or appropriate, like an appropriate response to the stuff that they did. You'll say that in one breath, but then you'll also say that you don't really know much about the creators or what they did. It's like, why wouldn't you take the time to like look into that first, though? I don't understand.
So this is an inartful thing that you're doing. The mere fact that I haven't watched all of Denham's content,
all the content.
The mere fact that I haven't, so I'm just gonna.
Super bad faith indicator. When somebody is always rephrasing what you're saying in like the most bad faith way ever, do you really think that? Wait, are there goodies up there? Are we really going to take the position that Hutch thinks that Pisco needs to watch all of Denham's content? Really? Seriously?
Address what you just said. I'm going to go back to my line, so you haven't distracted me from that. The mere fact that I haven't watched all of Denham's content, or all of Casey Tron's content, or all of Rogan's content, that is not any contradiction between me and my opinions thus far. Can you identify a contradiction or some kind of thing that doesn't make sense on that view?
Well, you see,
like identify a logical contradiction? No. But it's pretty fucking retarded to show up and have a strong opinion about a thing you don't know anything about and then demand everybody else there make the case to you. In fact, I'm trying to think philosophically even. Pisco might actually be the one making the positive claim here. I don't think that because the thing is no, because you have a no and it doesn't necessarily make it, I don't believe. A positive claim, I think, is just the argument, and then the negative claim is the negation of the argument, right? So theoretically, if Pisco challenged Hutch to the debate and Pisco were to tell Hutch, I'm here to argue today that Denham's did not engage in this behavior, that's still a positive claim. And then the negation of that argument is on Hutch. But for Pisco to claim that he hasn't been given enough information by Hutch because Hutch didn't make his claim, my understanding now, it could be that Hutch is the one that challenged him to the debate, I guess. But if Pisco's the one that made the challenge, Pisco's technically the one that is making the positive claim here. He might just be confused because he thinks positive means saying yes or is, and negation means saying no or is not. But that's not necessarily true from positive claims or negations of positive arguments or whatever.
Taken off guard.
Can you or can you not?
Like you got taken off guard when you were watching.
You just made an additional claim. You just made an additional claim. You said it was weird.
Generally speaking, though, you don't think it would. Generally speaking, though, you don't think it would behoove you to like familiarize yourself with these creators and what they said and did during that time. You seem to have not like looked into it very much, but you also have these strong opinions about Ethan and the severity of like what he did compared to what he was responding to.
True.
For the scope of my claims, I believe I've done appropriate research for the scope of my claims. I haven't made broader claims that would require me to do.
You didn't even watch the original clips that were the things that Ethan was the most mad about. You haven't done any of the work to familiarize yourself with any part of this.
The kind of research that you're talking about.
But are you not claiming?
Wait, so Hutch. I just answered all your concerns.
Are you not claiming that he is taking it too far?
Hutch. I just answered your claims.
Are you not claiming that he's taking it too far?
I just answered your concerns. Did you make a claim about Denham's intent or not?
Yes. I think to any reasonable person who is familiar with this situation and familiar with her, I think any reasonable person would come to the conclusion that she did see what was going on in her chat.
So is it your burden to demonstrate that?
Not to catch you up on every fucking thing that has gone on here, right? Like imagine people's like, I don't even know what live streaming is. You haven't demonstrated to me that people can actually connect with internet connections around the world and watch a stream. Like you haven't even shown that to me at all. That's even possible. That the bandwidth exists for that, or that these people are even real life humans. Like, well, no, what the fuck? It's not. Like you're the one that came with the argument.
Beyond to a reasonable certainty. I'm not here to try to convict in front of a jury. I'm just saying a reasonable person would come to the conclusion that she was watching her chat and she saw what they were saying. And her rhetoric here. I'll give you something to support the claim. I'll give you something to support the claim, okay?
No, Hutch. So first I want to establish it is your burden. You agree it's your burden to demonstrate your claim, correct?
The claim was Pisco's, though. Pisco is confused here. He came with the argument, and it is his burden to produce that and to justify it.
Who cares?
Is it your burden or not?
I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm
Dude,
actually
come on.
physically tired
This
right
would go
now.
by a lot faster if you just acknowledge it. Obvious.
If you just agreed with every single thing I was saying. Oh my god. Pisco's also starting to end up in the Andrew Wilson territory. And maybe it's from debating Rob North so much. This is a thing that I say where there are certain people where like you just, when you deal with them, you don't feel like the debate is exhausting, but not like in a, God, I was wrong on so much shit kind of way, but more in like a, I don't even know what the fuck we were talking about kind of way. Andrew Wilson does this, Rob North definitely does this, and Pisco is more and more doing this. Because like, how many hours has this gone on for? We started at 4. Has it been 2 hours of this? I don't know what the fuck we're even talking about. All I've known, I guess my only understanding up to this point is that Pisco literally doesn't think anybody has any obligation to any chat room or ever any, like, no matter what, because you can never prove anything comes from any place ever. Like, what a crazy, stupid conversation. And then now Pisco's screaming at Hutch because Hutch it doesn't have on Rolodex every single clip that people have been talking about for a year. By the way, the Pisco is familiar with. He should have seen all of these, or he's heard Straighterade and Gisticle and Doobie tell him, I guess, what's in the clips, but Jesus.
You trying to do these lawyer tricks. You're tricking me. You're trying to trick.
No, it's not a lawyer trick because this is a retard. This is a Redditor trick. This is a retard trick. Not even a Redditor trick. This is just a fucking debate pervert trick.
You're right. Yeah, you are. Any reasonable person thinks that she was looking at her chat and saw. Anybody. Okay, you can say it was 100%. No, I don't know. 100%.
Are you saying that you assume it? Are you assuming it?
I think it's a safe assumption.
You could even say, you could even make a strong argument. You have an obligation to. Didn't you earlier, you could twist it. You could say, Pisco, didn't you earlier say that a streamer has an obligation to moderate illegal content out of their chat room? If illegal content were to be occurring in their chat room, but they just weren't watching, would they have no obligation there? Would they have no moral culpability for the illegal content spreading in there just because they didn't happen to be watching? Do you need to prove that they were watching? Or is there a broad level of responsibility that the content creator has to have over their chat? Isn't that why we have auto moderator? Isn't that why we have actual moderators? Like, isn't that part of the goal of getting people to moderate their chat? Is that they always have some kind of culpability or responsibility for what's in there?
Yes.
Are you, so an assumption, in other words, is something that you don't justify. Fair?
I could be wrong.
Okay, but
sure,
you made
it's possible.
So here's a problem, right? If you make a claim about a particular intent, and this is, by the way, not too dissimilar to what you say of me, right? Like, don't you say the same thing to me? You're like, you can't say you know Ethan's intent. You have to prove that. Like, and now when I come back with you and say, hey, listen, when you're kind of speaking about Denham's intent, don't you need to show that? You're like,
yeah, but Hutch has demonstrated the intent there. You have nothing beyond spite and tankies to justify why you think Ethan had bad intent. Hutch's intent is like very reasonably and very rationally follows. It's super foreseeable what'll happen when you're watching a thing. She's literally watching fucking hate pieces hit pieces made by Bad Empanada, who's known, you yourself admitted, has a reputation for doxing people and everything else.
I don't want to answer that question. You made me tired. I mean, what the fuck?
Okay, do you think it's possible that she didn't see anything in the chat?
By possible, do you mean logically
plausible?
possible?
Logically possible?
Well, do you think it's plausible that she didn't see any of that?
Yeah, so I think plausible is like, is there a decent chance she didn't see it? I think it's decent. Okay. Because guess what? Okay. The reason I have that intuition is because
I don't see every single thing in our chat.
That we don't see the entirety of our chats. Okay. And you would agree, by the way, between you and I, that we don't see the vast majority of chats that come on our chat, correct?
The vast majority?
I see most of the chat. It's only when I'm having conversations like now, where I'm like really invested in what I'm watching. But at this point in my career, back when I was playing video games.
But hey, you want to know what else happens? You want to know what else happens, though? Well, something I'm willing to bet, and we could make another account. Don't do this. See how I don't want you to do it? I think so. I just said don't do it, right? You could even make, I bet if you were to go into Hutch's chat and you were to spam in Hutch's chat, we should all go murder Pisco. Hutch probably wouldn't even have to look at his chat. You know why? Because either one, a moderator who agrees with Hutch's views broadly on what the chat behavior should be would probably ban it, or two, everybody in chat would probably be saying, hey, we need a moderator. There's a crazy dude in here. Hey, we need a moderator. There's a crazy dude in here.
Fuck no, I barely look at chat. It wasn't that often. These days, I constantly look at both chats. And so does she, by the way. That's her whole thing. She's constantly interacting with chat. That's her pattern. That's what I know about her as a creator. But hang on. I'm trying to support the claim, okay? Like, I know this about her as a creator, is that she is constantly interacting with her chat. Like, constantly. Like they are a big part of their content. Like some creators, like I don't know if Destiny necessarily does it in the same way. Like he interacts with chat, but it's like he's off doing his own thing. He's kind of doing his own react or whatever. Like not everybody works that way. She's constantly
make a concerted effort to look at my chat, and I miss like 50+% of everything that comes up there.
You say it's plausible she missed it. Okay.
I don't believe that.
But
but even putting that aside, even if I granted it, Hutch, even if I granted that she bears culpability for failure to mitigate these kinds of risks, failure to moderate, it just doesn't extend to the act itself. That kind of thing, we don't have that normative intuition that a failure to adjust for risk. That this is a substantial risk that based.
You're so fucking wrong, and it's such a lie. I wonder how is he like an evil fucking piece of shit now? Like he's just lying. We don't have that intuition. We have this intuition so strongly. People blame themselves for things that they don't even have any culpability over. How many times is a person like, oh, like I wish I would have, said goodbye to my mom or dad, or like I didn't see them on the last day, and I'm worried that they might have been upset or whatever, you know, like before they died of some disease or whatever, or like, oh my god, like I shouldn't have let my daughter or mother or father or whatever drive to the store this day because it was raining and they got into an accident and they died. Like people will feel culpability over shit. They generally is not really their fault. That wasn't foreseeable at all. Oh, I should have stopped him. He was running late for his flight, and so he caught a different flight, and that flight crashed. So it's my fault that he died. To say that we have no intuitions here at all is fucking crazy. All of your intuitions are completely in the opposite direction. He's trying to speak unreality or fantasy or delusion into reality. It's insane.
These kinds of risks, failure to moderate, it just doesn't extend to the act itself. That kind of thing, we don't have that normative intuition that, a failure to adjust for risk, that this is a substantial risk, that based on this content, someone's going to call CPS. You couldn't justify that, man. You couldn't justify that there's a substantial risk.
Where's the Django warehouse, by the way? Somebody tell me.
That someone, as a result of that, is the natural and probable consequence of that is that someone calls CPS. It just isn't tailored to it.
I can easily justify putting myself in Ethan's shoes and looking at the whole space that dogpiled and joked about it and egged it on and justified it. I can easily justify in that moment feeling like they all share culpability for contributing to that, to their collective audience's culture of like,
but that's a separate
unrivaled levels of like, we're beyond hostility at that point. It was one of the most like vicious pylons I've ever seen in my entire career, going back nearly 2 decades.
The lefties do that to you.
Not like, listen, I've been on the receiving end of some vicious shit, and nothing came close to what the clients went through. I mean, do you acknowledge?
Why can you climb a barbed wire fence?
Do you acknowledge that the act of, like, hold on, let me ask you a question.
I've already done that. Yes, that's why
now I got a different question.
Talk about it, and yes, I did.
All right, I have a different question. What do you think is worse? Like, what do you think is a more significant action? The lawsuits or the CPS?
Calling CPS vindictively and maliciously.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But that's not the question. The question isn't.
It is though.
Between these. No, it's fucking not.
Because Denims and Caseytron didn't call CPS.
And even if, by the way,
they're all culpable in my mind,
including yourself, right? Because there's a chance it came from your community.
Oh no, my God.
Listen, like for egging it on, for making light of it, and for joking about it, they're all culpable. They fostered that community. Yeah.
So I'm so pleased that I'll see this. You applying the standard to liberals. You apply the standard to all sorts of creators who have, let's just put it modestly, less than stellar reputations and actions when it comes to moderation of their communities. Let's just to put it mildly. I mean, like,
I've called those people out. I've called them out.
I don't even know like why the shit-eating grin Pisco has on here. The worst communities are all the ones that he's a part of, that he's constantly giving cover to. Like, I don't even know what the implication is there. He's part of the worst communities, and he supports the worst communities on the internet. So I don't know what, I don't even know what the implication is there. Like, there's not going to be anybody worse than the people in his corner.
That they're culpable. So if someone crazy does something to Pisco because they say that he's, whatever they say, you're going to be like, oh, all these people who are making false claims and piling on Pisco, these people have collective responsibility for the murder of Pisco. You would never say that.
Surely you would agree that when we're talking about like politicians, that kind of culpability, that would be spread out like amongst hundreds of thousands of creators and people with platforms and influence. It's a little bit different in this situation when we're talking about
the Republicans' argument about Charlie Kirk, that after the fact, the Democrats are fostering communities where they're doing things that with their natural consequence is it causes crazy people to. So I just want you to know this entire thing. I've been trying to show you that the standard you're applying is the conservative standard on Charlie Kirk.
No,
and you just said it perfectly. Yes, it's scattered across. That's the Republicans' theory for why Democrats deserve culpability for all these crazy lunatics doing crazy shit.
If you think,
described it, man.
If you think I'm being inconsistent, you should just ask my chat. What was I saying about people that were making jokes about Charlie Kirk?
You were not saying they're culpable for murder. You were not saying that.
No. What I was saying was...
You weren't saying that, right? You weren't saying that, right?
No, but that's not what I was... But like, again, this is not analogous at all. But what I was telling my chat, like that day, the day after...
But keep in mind, the reason why he wasn't saying that was because none of the chats are people that that Hutch was criticizing my guesses, even for mine, even if I'm being unhinged. I'm not out here, even in my most unhinged, I'm not here saying like, guys, we need to go kill conservatives. Guys, we need to start killing people. We gotta kill Charlie Kirk. He's gonna go kill everybody, right? So Hutch wouldn't even have anybody to make that criticism to. However, if I was out here saying, guys, we need to kill more conservatives, guys, let's go kill conservatives, and then somebody went out and killed a conservative, you think that people like Hutch wouldn't look at me or my chat and be like, Destiny's contributing to this? Like, I think there's some culprit. You think he wouldn't say that? Like, it's such a... This is...
After, like, I didn't find any of the jokes funny. Like I was telling people that this was a time for everybody to.
I don't agree with the jokes.
Right.
I
No,
condemn
but
the
that's
jokes.
me being consistent, though. I'm saying like we all have a
You're
responsibility.
not calling them culpable.
No,
You're not.
No,
so
but you would be culpable in a much more abstract sense of
let's be
contributing to
concrete.
that kind.
How do you even argue against someone who goes against basic human intuition strongly? I mean, Pisco's good at like the word games. I guess I guess in a way, Pisco's kind of like devolving into Rob Noor or Andrew Wilson. I don't know if it's because he spends a lot of time in those spaces with those people, but like he's like very verbally fluent, very verbally adept, right? So he can navigate a conversation very well. He's not getting like twisted in his words or hung up on things. And then conceptually, in some ways, it takes even more brain power to lie because you have to keep track of like so many unintuitive concepts. Because Pisco's had to twist himself in knots to maintain the absurdity of these fucking arguments. So, like, it's not like he's stupid. It's just very, very, very hard, I think, in the moment to call these things out. Yeah.
Let's be concrete. And the only reason that I'm picking on Destiny here is simply because he has the most, like, I don't know, spicy take.
I called him out.
No.
I told him.
So here's the question. I'm not saying did you call him out or not. Don't confuse the issue such. And I'm not going to get confused by it. So just be clear. Is Destiny culpable for the murder of Charlie Kirk because he joked about it after?
I don't even like. I've said multiple times. Like, has Denims ever said a single time nobody should ever be calling CPS on anybody? Has anybody ever said that? This is like a brain rotted. This is like a mind fucked take. He must be getting mind fucked by somebody. I wonder if he's being blackmailed. Or he's like this is like he's just out. This is like the most brain rotted shit. Jesus Christ.
Word in ways that you find reprehensible. Is he culpable for the murder?
No, of course not.
Okay, so the mere fact that you're part of a collective.
No.
But I'm not calling people to kill him. I'm saying the exact opposite of that, and I've always said the exact opposite of that.
That jokes about it after the fact, makes light of the murder, does some kind of funny memes about it. That is not enough to satisfy culpability on this shit.
No, but even what I'm not talking about, like, so there's culpability for like a shared responsibility for fostering communities where this sort of behavior is encouraged and celebrated and joked about. Like, that's one thing. And then there's like culpability for the act itself. And then there's like joking about it after the fact. And like all of these things. No, but I'm saying all of these things are relevant considerations when we evaluate. Was Ethan justified in taking extreme actions?
I totally agree. But here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. The culpability for failure to moderate, the culpability for failure to making light of stuff, right? And when you shouldn't do it, it's being conflated with the malicious act of the call itself. That's the sneaky part. That's the part that doesn't.
But I'm not.
Whether you are or not, people are, and they're saying, well, and you almost did. I actually think you did it here by you saying, well, don't you acknowledge by failure to moderate, you acknowledge that there's some culpability there, therefore the culpability for the actual act. No, we cannot conflate these. We really can't.
I don't. I'm not conflating it. I feel like you're trying to do this thing where you're conflating it to try to like make the point that well, it's absurd to say that they're responsible because ultimately it's up to the person that did it. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like if you are irresponsible in your lack of moderation, in your own words, increase the risk of someone in your audience doing something like that.
You're responsible for that.
But
if that conduct doesn't rise to a certain level of significance, it's negligible, right? So you need to make so right. It's not enough to say you increase the risk. You will accept those much. It's not enough.
I don't. It's not. It's not trivial. None of this is trivial. I don't think any of them have clean hands in this situation.
That's not my point. You would agree, wouldn't you, that raising the risk minorly isn't culpable conduct, right?
For the act itself, literally according to your standard, no. But you have contributed. In my opinion,
I'm not asking on my view. On your view, if you raise the risk, just
see, he's just, like I'm not even tearing these apart individually because they're all just dog shit. If you raise the risk even a little bit, or if you raise the risk just a little bit, you wouldn't say that you're culpable here, right? The risk raising part here is, in my opinion, is 100% tied to the intentionality of the risk taking. Right? If somebody tells you, hey, could you go to the store and buy some groceries, and it's like snowing outside, and there's just like a whole bunch of like extra risk factors, like things that maybe the person's not even aware of. Like at the end of the day, they would have basically, unless they knew the person, like couldn't drive a car or something, they would have. You don't do a risk analysis there. But if somebody like knew that somebody had just taken like a Benadryl PM or whatever, or what the fuck is it? Some cough medicine, and that they were really kind of like sleepy and they didn't drive well on it, and the person asked them like, hey, because they really didn't like this person, and they were like, hey, you should go to the store and pick up some whatever, and the goal there is to get them to die. Like, even if the risk increase is slight, you would have way more or the other person wouldn't even have any, and you would have so much. Imagine if your husband was hunting a boar, and you had the wine boy give him lots and lots of wine so that the boar ripped him apart with his tusk. And then he died. Just so you could live your incestuous life with your Lannister brother. Gods, I was a drinker back then. But it's just so stupid. Like, obviously the intent. This is why it didn't work earlier when Peace was like, well, if you watch a thing, aren't you contributing to a 1% increased chance that somebody could watch the content and do a bad thing? Yeah, but that's not the intent. And it's obviously and clearly not the intent. And we would hope that we can somewhat map the intent onto the outcome. That if somebody is intentionally trying to do a good thing, repeatedly, that good things generally will spawn from that. And that doesn't always mean that's the case. You could try to do a good thing and a bad thing might happen. Or there might be a slightly... You might offer to give somebody a drive to work and maybe your car has a bomb in it or something if you made a enemy in the market. I don't know. These are dumb. These are stupid arguments.
A tiny little bit. That's not culpable conduct, is it?
Not necessarily, no, but like...
It doesn't have to do... It doesn't matter if you're increasing the risk.
Is something... Okay.
Somebody said, did Denims ever say what you said here about the Charlie Kirk show?
Also, just because they're having a lot of jokes and memes, just so that I'm absolutely fucking clear, I hope they find this dude, and I hope they hang this guy. This guy. It is absolutely unacceptable to be out and about assassinating people. Okay? That's wild.
True.
Same feelings I have about Luigi, I have about this dude. Not acceptable, not okay, not cool, not epic, and not based. Just insane.
True.
They painted, there was a pipe that burst, and so they had to fix a bunch of shit and paint a bunch of shit.
Your governor is a smart cookie.
Oh.
He might not be trustworthy, but I liked him after that interview with Ezra. I'm just saying, you know.
I've liked him for a while.
Smart.
Yeah, he is smart. He's very sharp. He's fucking super sharp.
But I know that was like, that interview was Democrat porn, so I just want to...
Oh yeah, I was living out for sure.
Hutch, you're my boy. I'm not trying to meme on you or like insult you or anything, but it really, like, in order to
Don't worry about me.
Okay. I'm not taking it personally. I don't take it personally. But I really want to emphasize that it's not enough to show some trivial risk, some insignificant risk. If you want to demonstrate that there's culpability in the context of increasing risk, in this context, maybe I would grant that there's some nominal duty to impose these kinds of standards of moderation.
I would actually even argue too, Pisco is so fucking disgusting in this whole conversation. I would even argue too that like Pisco's exact attitude here is the type of attitude that leads people to like doing terrorisms or being involved with groups like this, because people feel like they have no shared responsibility for bad things that are happening. They feel like nothing really matters at the end of the day, as long as they themselves aren't the exact person doing the exact bad thing, that there's no culpability, they're not really doing it. These are like the types of weird moral equivocations, or the types of weird the things that we do to convince ourselves that it's not a big deal or it doesn't matter that much because we're not the one at the end of the day. It's just such a horrible way to approach anything in life, politics. Like, it's so crazy. This has just been an unbelievable conversation. Ugh.
On your own community, absolutely. But to race for culpability with respect to risk of the underlying act, you're going to have to show some significant risk increase there. And I don't think that you've started to make that case for any of the creators.
Super
like
bullshit.
Caseytron? What the fuck? What is the evidence that Caseytron contributed to this?
She was justifying it and joking about it just the same. They were all doing
after
this.
the fact. On no different terms than someone after the fact joking about Charlie Kirk's assassination. But you would not say, well,
it's different when the people who are encouraging the behavior and who are likely, I think we could say fairly likely, the people who were engaging in the behavior come from your own fucking communities. Imagine if people were laughing and making fun of Charlie Kirk's murder in the same Discord group that Tyler Robinson fucking came from. You're not telling me that intuitively everybody wouldn't have a vastly different reaction to that Discord group? If that guy killed him, hey, when Tyler typed in, hey guys, want to know, I was actually the person who killed him. By the way, that whole that if they were like joking and being like, bro, you killed Charlie, good job, man, oh, good job, dude, fucking base, man, that everybody wouldn't have been appalled by that. You're just totally crazy here.
Oh, you've contributed to his death. You would say this is in bad taste, this looks bad, it's independently a wrong thing to do.
It's not just this
culpability.
No, but it's not just a CPS call. Like if you as a creator and you have a platform and you're making jokes about the CPS call or whatever, you are contributing directly to a culture that is being fostered in that community of celebrating something that I find to be like really reprehensible, abhorrent, disgusting behavior. And anybody in Ethan's position would have been furious.
And
like, do you understand that? Like,
your community.
even if we found out, for example, even if we could say for sure
it didn't come from
came from Bad Empanada's community specifically, I would still in my mind, I would still in my mind think and say that they're all culpable because they're all contributing in their own ways.
Correct.
And it's like, obviously we're getting very abstract here, but
no,
that's where my mind goes with it. Like it could have been any of them, right? Like it could have been any of them.
So people calling Charlie Kirk a fascist,
Stop.
saying
Don't stop. I don't care.
because you know,
Charlie Kirk
because you know,
no,
that's
it's
how you
not.
hate the
It is not.
comparison.
No, I
you
don't.
know.
No, Charlie Kirk was a.
Calling Charlie Kirk a fascist is different because you're not. First of all, we're not basing this on a foundationally false bullshit claim. If we really genuinely believe he's a fascist, that's different than starting it on a false claim, which is one of the qualifiers that Pisco painstakingly set out in the beginning to clarify with Hydra. Pisco has zero interest in a good faith conversation here, and it's literally just
national figure who had way more. But like, if you're gonna ask me in a broad
Ethan
sense,
Klein is not
like,
a national figure. Like
Charlie
Oh
Kirk.
my
what are you talking about here?
God.
No, of
We're
course
really
not.
making a distinction. Like okay, like Ethan.
Yeah, of
I don't
course
know
we
if
are.
that's true. I mean, maybe in our bubble, but
He's
I don't
wrong.
know that Ethan Klein is lesser known.
But Hutch got lured into a stupid conversation trap here because that's not the intentionality is the important
So
part.
your family, I assume. So like, let's say a bunch of like a deranged MAGA person who followed you. There was a bunch of smaller creators, you know, or bigger creators, right? Like, and they all started like memeing about how, you know, one of your family members was like abusing their kids, and then CPS showed up at the house, right? Like, and are you telling me you wouldn't be like almost equally pissed at like everybody who was possibly indirectly responsible for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I would be pissed at people who were making light of it. People making, if I had evidence that they were encouraging it, if I felt that they were like spreading lies that someone could take that way. That's a different. You keep trying to find different ways to ask the same question, which is, could there be independent obligations? Okay, I'm trying to explain. Like, you're finding different ways to ask it, but fundamentally, you haven't crossed the divide, which is the mere increase of a risk in violation of some ethical obligation to, you know, moderate or to be wise with your words or not say stupid shit that someone could take a certain way. That does not translate to culpability for the malicious vindictive acts, and you cannot conflate those levels of responsibility and culpability. And what's being used to justify these lawsuits, again, putting aside the issue of whether it's intended to protect the React community, which is so bizarre and fucked up and not true, but even putting that aside, the argument you get is that shit doesn't even matter. Like, fuck that analysis piece. Who cares about it? Because these people are just so awful because they're culpable for the CPS call. That's what I'm hearing, and I just think that is just totally wrong-headed analysis.
I think they did awful. I think they did an awful thing. I think all of them contributed to a really awful thing, and they all mocked it and trivialized it. I think it was disgusting.
Was it disgusting for Destiny to ridicule Charlie Kirk's death?
I think so, yeah.
It's not even remotely comparable.
Yeah,
It's so crazy. Oh, it's such a stupid fucking comparison.
Right now.
And
I think he's
culpable for, if anything?
I think he's culpable for, in that moment, for contributing to a culture of political violence through his rhetoric.
Isn't that the Republican argument?
No, the Republican argument would be like Destiny himself is like directly responsible because of this, that, or the other thing. But we're getting into more abstract kind of ideas, right?
Then that's the scope of my claim with respect to denims. You cannot conflate the moral ethical obligation with respect to the substantive act.
I didn't though, but I still think what they did was disgusting. I think it was disgusting. I think it was so dehumanizing. I think it was antisocial. And I think all of those creators abused the influence that they had. They're all like drunk with power on in their own like way. And I think they knew that they have that power. They know they have that influence, and they all knowingly used it, knowing full well that the risk would go up of something like this happening. And they did
which
it
is the
anyways.
important part.
Let's deal with Casey Tron. What act? So the
now we gotta go.
vindictiveness or the aggression or the anger at Casey Tron is justified because
They all did the same thing. Is my point.
What is the specific?
Justified the CPS claims, joked about it, continued to say that it was justified. Like they
what
all.
if anything did Casey Tron say about it?
Oh my
I'd have
God.
to pull up the videos. It's been a minute, but all of them did that. Is the
You
point.
don't want me to do what you did to me, right? Because I'm gonna say, what, you don't even know the basic things of what they said, and you haven't done your bare research.
I know for about
No, it's because you're demanding him. Oh my God.
Because I can't remember particulars, but I'm telling you, like, you can ask my stream. We've watched plenty of Casey Tron clips. We've watched plenty of videos dissecting what all these various creators said. I smoked a lot of pot for a lot of years, and I can't give you particulars, but I'm telling you, they all joked about it, justified it, continued to justify it. That's the point.
Okay, and given the fact that they joked about, let's say assume that Casey Tron joked about the CPS call, all right? I'm going to assume that for the purposes of the next stage of what we're talking about, that she joked about the CPS call. Therefore, it's justified to, supposing this is the motivation, to sue her on that basis alone.
I think it's justified to want to impose consequences, and the debate would be about, like, is this an appropriate consequence? And I've already told you I'm somewhat agnostic on that. Like, I'm somewhat conflicted because I'm sympathetic to his desire for like a sense of justice or a sense of like wanting to punish the people who you feel contributed in their own way to your family, like suffering in your own personal suffering. But I'm also sympathetic to like I don't want Denims to be her wages garnished for the rest of her life or
like you wouldn't want them to be financially destitute, right? For laughing?
I mean,
For laughing. For laughing. I mean, this is a waste of listening to this guy.
Okay.
That's just
and obviously, like, they shouldn't be beat up for joking about it, right? They shouldn't be beat up. They shouldn't be
For joking about it.
You know, they shouldn't be banned for it. Should they be
Well,
banned?
I wouldn't condone violence. I mean, I you know, as far as they should be banned, like, I think it would be justified for some kind of penalty.
Moderation.
I don't know if I've ever advocated that people be permanently banned from Twitch, but the fact that like that crowd, they've gotten away with so much shit that nobody else would get away with. And I think it's
not
pretty
according to
obvious
Pisco,
that
because
It's true.
Okay.
I'm not here to deny that. That's why I think that the level of research I've done is appropriate for the scope of my claims. Is I'm not making a claim that they haven't or have gotten away with stuff. I'm not making a claim that they're good or bad people. I'm not making a claim that they haven't said shit that by itself is reprehensible or bad. I don't think it's justified to make sort of implications that on the bare thing that Ethan said, even the Giardia thing. I think it's disgusting oversharing that you would say that, but that's just my own personal taste. I don't think that it's justified to conclude that therefore it's negligent. I don't.
Good
I think
one.
that anyone who does, give me more facts to establish negligence in that context. But just because I think that doesn't mean that I think that they're culpable for the underlying thing. And here's
But you said she was.
facts about the what's that?
You said
Culpable for.
No,
Oh my
you-
god.
No, you
for
said-
not the substantive thing, but for failure to moderate or whatever, the negligence perhaps in that, but not if, like with respect to the actual CBS call. That's the difference.
I don't know how to make sense of that in my mind.
Yeah, it doesn't.
She's
It does- 'cause it
negligent
doesn't make
she's
sense. It doesn't
negligent
make sense,
because
Hutch.
she
You're
did
not supposed to
something
make sense of
increase
it.
the risk of something happening, and then the thing happened, but because she didn't do the exact thing, you know, it's really kind of trivial. Her negligence. I don't know how to make sense of that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
There are evidentiary problems on all this, right?
No,
there's an
there's not.
evidentiary problem
No.
that
No.
kind of risk by making these kinds of like cute little, you know, guys, whoa, that this increases significantly the risk of someone calling CPS. I don't think that that's established, and that any one of those jokes or something, or even intimations that something is wrong, the conclusion therefore is that there's a substantial and unjustifiable risk that CPS call will occur. So even just on the like the empirical case for this being a significant risk, I don't think that the people who are claiming that it's a significant risk have made their case for that. Secondly, to the extent that they have any culpability, so far the evidence, I think you agree with this, doesn't show that they intentionally tried to actualize CPS call. Fair?
Oh my
I
god.
don't think so. I could be wrong. There's clips I've seen.
People should not treat them as though they intended it. Fair?
No,
Of
wait,
course they
hang on.
intended it.
Should they treat them?
I'm trying to go back to answer the question.
I understand. I just want to hear this first. Should people treat them as though they intended the CPS call on current facts?
I think people should treat them as though they explicitly justified it to their audiences.
That's what I'm saying. But they intended for this to occur, and they wanted it to occur.
Oh, I don't know. You'd have to ask her, but that's not. I mean, that's not even the most relevant consideration. Though, like that kind of doesn't matter. Like,
No,
was
it
she
does, it
intending for
does.
someone in
It
her
does
audience?
matter, it does
She
matter.
knew she was taking a risk.
Don't
She
give on
knew
that point.
She was
Well, knowing that
being,
you're taking a risk
well,
is
maybe
intending
she
it.
didn't, but like, I think she knew. I think all of them knew.
They did.
That they were. I think they were like dog whistling about it. I think they thought Ethan was evil, and I think that they think that making him suffer was justified. That's what all of their rhetoric and behavior.
Do you think that they should be treated as though they intended for this result to occur?
Yes.
I think it's
Yeah,
understandable. for
100%
Ethan to-
yes,
to-
of course.
To view it that way.
Yeah.
The question is whether
Let me try to explain my thinking.
You can say that I don't know. That's fine.
But no, let me try to explain because like
Yeah.
like even if if we could specify, okay, the person came from Denham's audience, okay, the fact that it could have been any of them, that's the point. So like even if it came from her, like
understand,
so that sense of like imposing responsibility in a collective way, that's where that comes from, because it's like it easily could have been any of their audiences.
But my question I'm asking isn't whether you can impose some level of responsibility, because we've already had the discussion, we're going around circles on it. My question is not precisely that. It's should they be treated, and not do you understand whether Ethan could have that view. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking on Ethan's view. I'm asking on your view and only your view. Should people treat them as though they intended
Yes.
for this result to occur?
Yeah, of course.
Honestly, to a certain
Like,
extent.
you can even look, by the way, at the behavior afterwards, right? It's one of the reasons why we know Hassan shocked his dog, right? You can look at how people respond to a situation to discern what their intent is, right? If I walk up to somebody and I, you know, give them a little dap on their shoulder or whatever, and I'm just so fucking powerful that I shatter their shoulder, I'd probably be like, oh shit, bro. I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't mean to fuck your shit up. When we accidentally harm people, or when we engage in behavior that leads to harm that we don't intend, usually people are apologetic about it. If you are celebrating it, and it seems to line up with you wanting it to occur, then people are probably going to interpret that as you wanting it to happen. You can use this to ascertain state of mind when it comes to literally fucking killing people. Like, you can look at statements and actions and behaviors that people engage in right after the event itself to figure out what you thought their state of mind was. This is exhausting.
And yeah, honestly, yeah. In virtue of the fact that they continue to justify it after the fact. Like, it already happened the first time, so if you're justifying it after the fact, you're like, actually, I think it was good that CPS got called. Are you not?
So you should treat them,
Wait, hold on.
as though they wanted it to occur and were intending it.
Yes.
I don't agree with that.
After the fact, they're saying, actually, it's good that they were called.
It's so crazy how Hutch, I don't imagine there's any formal understanding of it, but I feel like all of Hutch's intuitions point directly in like the correct direction that everybody else in the ordinary world, planet Earth, in the legal, moral world, like, agrees with. Like, Pisco is just on some crazy, he is high on the craziest tanky audience capture retard shit. I don't even know why the fuck people would watch this guy anymore. This is just such, I don't think I could ever trust somebody listening to this level of argumentation. This is just wild to me. It's just a crazy set of arguments.
justified. Are they not significantly contributing to the risk of it happening again at that point?
I mean, I don't have it.
Is it all memes? Or are they all joking? Should I not take them at their word, or what?
No, I don't think that mere justification of an act by itself entails that it's significant for the act to reoccur, that you've increased the risk. I think that there's more of a burden that you need to show. I don't think that.
To me, that event was like just such a clear case of almost sociopathic levels of harassment. And if you're after the fact,
Wait, what did he say? Hold on.
should I not take them at their word, or what?
No, I don't think that mere justification of an act by itself entails that it's significant for the act to reoccur, that you've increased the risk. I think that there's more of a burden that you need to show.
If an act happens that could have easily come from your community, and then you justify that last action, you don't think you're increasing the chances of it happening again? Like, how many crayons do I need to eat for this argument to hit as hard as Pisco thinks it does? This is the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my entire fucking life.
I don't think that.
To me, that event was like just such a clear case of almost sociopathic levels of harassment. And if you're after the fact saying it was a good thing that it happened, I think
by the way?
all of them, all of them,
they all
all of them justified it. All of them.
They all said it was good that CPS was called.
Yes.
I haven't seen that. I mean, I've been having these debates for. I even think Ethan backed away from that claim. Didn't he make a video saying he never alleged that Denims was responsible or justified it?
No, what he said was that Denims didn't tell his audience to call CPS. That's what he said.
So what do you take to be the
I
justification?
like how Pisco has bits and pieces of the arguments, probably because Doobie and Aaron and other people are typing at him like at the same time, like giving him arguments on the fly and shit, because he probably hasn't watched much of it. He's just gotten the rehashed version from all the weird snarker adjacent communities that he's a part of now.
That for the CPS call specifically that Denim said.
After
even like notion of what was said after.
We just saw that. Hold on. We just saw that. We just saw the same video. That was
before. That was before.
That was before. That's even worse.
But that wasn't her justifying CPS call, right?
Of course it was. What do you mean? Of course it was.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
His kids have Giardia and they might die.
Is that justification for a CPS call?
Yes.
No, wait, hang on a second.
What do you mean?
How are we going to do this one now? Wait, you're saying just because somebody says somebody might be killing their kids, that means that somebody might call CPS?
The mere fact that a child contracts a disease, an illness, even through a potential like a negligence event, that is not justification for a CPS call.
Just so you know, your child contracting illnesses due to severe negligence is absolutely grounds for a fucking CPS call, and it should be. We don't want kids who are getting sick because their parents are being like insanely neglectful of them. What an unbelievably crazy statement to make. What the fuck? Why do you think CPS is ever called? Well,
Justification for CPS call would be something like this. Wow, they're a danger. Like I think that CPS should be called, or someone should talk to the government about this, or this would like people need to check in on his kids and like go to the authorities. Those are things that sound like justification for.
I can't even, bro.
No, she said, or very explicitly implied, that Ethan's kids might die. That's not a justification called CPS.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Every line is a banger, dude. Every line from this debate is a banger. Like,
Ethan's kids might die. She said, or very explicitly implied, that Ethan's kids might die. That's not a justification called CPS.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Come on, bro. What are we doing here?
This is a joke.
Frustrated with you.
This is a joke.
That's why CPS exists, bro.
Yes.
I'm not saying she was right about her.
This is a joke.
You're
right.
Her analysis
Your
of
intuition is correct here.
Very common. But she was telling her audience like that they have this thing and they might die. That's what she said. CPS exists for that.
So if I had that view, you're saying if I had the view that this is dangerous to the child and that they were negligent, that means I'm justifying CPS call?
If you're telling your audience that someone's kids might die because they're being neglected, then yes, that's an obvious, like assume she was...
Doobie and Queen Man, I bet, are they in his chat? Is he eating arguments from them now? Is that what he's looking at?
Assume she was correct, right? Like assume she was correct and they were being neglected and they might die. Is that a justification called CPS?
Yeah, no, I think that someone could use that as part of their justification.
No.
What are we hedging here?
Well, somebody could use that as part. Maybe if they think they're gonna die, maybe somebody could maybe possibly. Oh my god.
No.
That's different.
No. Is it a justification?
No, you need an additional assumption. You need an additional argument to call CPS. So I'll give you an example, right? So I'll give you an example because you're gonna agree with this one, right? So if someone says, if you don't vaccinate your kids, it's dangerous to the health of your kids. And look, these guys aren't vaccinating their kids, and it's dangerous to the health of their kids, and they could die if they don't get vaccinated. Look, there's something going on. Is that justification to call CPS? Is that person justifying CPS calls? Yes or no?
You don't have a legal or moral obligation to vaccinate your, well, moral maybe whatever, but you don't have a legal obligation to vaccinate your kids. you do have a legal obligation to ensure that your kids are properly fed, their hygiene is kept up. Like if you send your kid to school in a filthy outfit every day, or they smell horrible, or it seems like they're not being properly taken care of or bathed, CPS will be called. And if you're deemed an unfit parent and you can't take care of your children, the state will take them from you.
In their minds and to their audience, yes.
No, the mere fact that you're saying that people are imperiling the lives of their kids is not a justification for calling CPS. And the example I just provided, you would never say if a liberal said, like,
you're not understanding my point. You're not understanding my point. You're sailing past my point.
Oh my God!
I'm saying
crushes your argument.
No.
Your fucking argument.
The question it's not,
crushes your argument because the vaccine shit isn't comparable. It's not comparable. You don't have a legal obligation to. And also, you're talking about like protective. It's just not. It's not even remotely on the same. It's not even remotely on the same level, too, because you wouldn't necessarily assume that a child would get a vaccine-preventable disease due to neglect, right? Maybe I might say that because I'm fucking conservative. I think vaccines should be an imperative, but like it's a lot different than the shit-eating disease from the dog that's shitting everywhere and the parent that doesn't care to take care of their children, right? The claim is a lot different here in terms of the type of disease you're contracting. Much the same as like, would you really think it's justifiable to call CPS on a parent just because their child is sick? And it's like, well, okay, fine, I guess not. What is the disease they have? Oh, they're suffering from severe malnutrition and their stomach is severely bloated. They weigh 45 pounds and they're 5'8". Okay, well, in that case, it kind of sounds like you could call CPS. Oh, so now just because the child is sick, if they have any disease now, you can call CPS? No, that's disease. This is a disease associated with neglect.
Not about whether or not Giardia actually represented as a mortal threat to the kid. That's not the point. She was claiming
it was because of neglect.
Kids were going to die because they were being neglected.
Yes,
and
dude.
So people in the audience.
Hutch is there. Hutch is there. But now, oh my God! And now Pico's like, oh, I got it now. Pico's like, oh, so just for the claim I'm gonna die. So then, if people say that your kid is gonna get COVID and die because they don't get vaccinated now, are they doing the exact same thing that the Snipers did to Ethan because they said they're gonna die?
They're gonna die?
You just watched the same clip, man. Do you need to watch it again? We watched it twice now.
Okay, so
she said kids can die from this, bro. That's what she said.
Okay, so this is the context in which I'm giving you. I'm trying to apply your standard to a case to see if you're consistent. This is called testing you. It's an internal critique. I'm trying to see if you're being consistent, right? So if a liberal is watching a video of some conservative say, my kids are totally unjabbed.
Yep.
And on everything, I didn't give them the jab of anything. I don't give it on COVID. Let me finish the question, Hutch. On COVID, I didn't give them the jab on MMR. I didn't give them this on anything.
There it is.
Frankly, I think the health results speak for themselves. And they're fine. And a liberal commentator says, this is very dangerous. They could die of these various different illnesses. This is so negligent. Mm-hmm. Is that yes or no them justifying calling CPS?
In their minds, yes.
No.
Or it could justify some significant intervention.
So if someone calls CPS in virtue of that statement, would you apply culpability to the person who said?
This is perfect. This is like the perfect. Hang on. No, this is the perfect. Okay, say what you want to say, and then let me say what I want to say.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so let's say I'm like a super pro-vax like YouTuber streamer guy, and like my content is like focused on like Pfizer being fucking awesome and all the vaccines being so great, and let's say I cultivate an audience of like thousands of people, and my whole thing is that like MAGA parents are putting their kids at risk for that they might kill their kids because they might get COVID and they might die, and then I said like, and then I implied like their kids might die, and then somebody in my audience or shortly after this happened like called the authorities and tried to have government intervention. Like this is a this is a plausible. Would I be partly responsible for that?
Afterwards, no, you wouldn't. So if afterwards,
what?
You would not be.
There's no way.
Oh, notice how, dude, Pisco is such a slime fuck. Listen to Pisco now saying, no, you wouldn't be. No, you wouldn't be. No, you wouldn't be. Excuse me, Pisco. You said you were doing an internal critique. Why are you giving your standard now, right? Hutch just bit the bullet and said he would be totally fine with calling it. And actually, if you really follow through, by the way, on the analogy that that Pisco is giving here, not only would the super pro-vax guy probably own it, he'd probably be proud of it. The guy would probably say, yeah, I did call CPS on him. I'm glad somebody called CPS on him. Good. Take their fucking kids. They should be vaccinated. The guy would probably just fucking own it. He probably wouldn't give a fuck. Pisco shows like the dumbest fucking example to walk into. It's not even a one-to-one comparison because talking about like preventative harm related to vaccines is a lot different than like diseases arising from severe fucking neglect.
You think that? I don't think you think that.
I literally do. This is how. So if afterwards someone called CPS on the anti-vaxxer or whatever, and the streamer came out and said, "Guys, why the fuck did you do this? This is wrong." No one would be like, "Hang on, you justified the call of CPS." They'd be like, "No, that's not what I said."
Sure they might. Sure they might. What do you mean?
Who would have the better of the argument? The guy who said yes,
who cares? The argument doesn't need to be good.
Who has the better of the argument doesn't matter.
She was making a shitty, unscientific claim, as she often does, by the way.
True.
She was making a bad claim. It's not true that like that the Giardia was as deadly as she was presenting. I think like a quarter of kids in the country at any given time have Giardias or something like that. But that's not what she told her audience. She told her audience that Ethan's kids might die.
you can. The example I'm giving you is one in which the same kind of thing. These kids could die if they don't get vaccinated. You understand the lethality rate for this?
My
No,
God.
there's precedent, but there's legal precedent, like right? Like I think people generally kind of, or they could Google stuff. When is it appropriate to call CPS? If it was true that Ethan was neglecting his kids in the way that they were suggesting.
It seriously feels like Pisco has picked a position before knowing anything and is retroactively justifying it. Kind of, except he didn't pick it. His group, whatever group think he's in right now, picked it for him, and now he has to. It's kind of like when Vegeta got like the Majin Buu stamp on his forehead or whatever. It's not because he wanted to fight for Buu or Bibidi or whoever the fuck or whatever else, but like once he was on their team, now all of his powers have to be used to do whatever he can to, you know, fight on that team. But now that Pisco's on the whatever weird tanky slop lib shit slop tanky combo thing he's on right now, is so this is the position they have, and now he has to figure out a way to try to fucking make sense of it. It's very pathetic though, and very fucking sad.
Then it would be justified to call CPS, right? That there's a legal precedent for that, right?
There's an additional inference that you need to make that I would impose on anyone claiming that this person is culpable for that action. That I could say something like this. Like, so I'll just tell you, right?
No,
like,
you didn't answer my question, though.
Wait, what was your question? Sorry, I missed it then. Say it again.
If you found out that parents were neglecting their kids to the extent that the kids were literally like playing with dog shit and contracting what is it, a viral disease? What is it? Whatever it is?
I don't know, doctor.
Okay. If you knew that parents were leave out.
Once again, I don't know anything about this. Pisco's been arguing about this for like a fucking year. He's been like the #1 fucking anti-Ethan lawsuit. Not really anti-Ethan, but just like the #1 fucking debater on this shit for so long. He's like, I don't know anything about it. I don't know.
Leave out Giardia. If you knew that there were some parents out there that were neglecting their kids so much that the kids were playing with dog shit just like all throughout the day, would you be justified in calling CPS?
I'm not sure that you would be. on those facts alone.
He's so fucking retarded. If your kids, if you saw, I'm sorry, not your kids. If you saw kids like across the street crawling around in the front yard covered in dog shit and they were like sniffly nose and sick and coughing all the time, like when should you ever call? He should just start asking me, when should you call CPS? I'm just curious. Is there ever a point where you call CPS? Is that like what? Hutch's
There's no way you think this.
There was a real pause there. Yeah, that's right.
The disease, what is it? Whatever it is.
I don't know, doctor.
Okay. If you knew that parents were let's leave out Giardia. If you knew that there were some parents out there that were neglecting their kids so much that the kids were playing with dog shit just like all throughout the day, would you be justified in calling CPS?
I'm not sure that you would be. on those facts alone.
On those facts alone, I'm not sure.
In my view,
there's no way you think this. There's no way you think this.
It's so ridiculous.
They're very different things, right? Like that, a person making the argument that it would just be justified on those facts. That's different. Like if someone were to give out those facts and ask you the question, is it justified to call CPS? Then congratulations, you justified CPS. But there's an additional inference that needs to be made that government intervention in this specific case is warranted, and there could be a ton of contravening factors that would cause someone to say, notwithstanding that.
Name one. What are some contravening factors? Name one. Name one. I like to do this whenever somebody does this, because you guys all remember the trick from high school, right? Every single person knows. This isn't a high school trick. This is a lifelong trick. When you write etc., that just means you ran out of things to list, right? When you're like, well, I know that I'm better than him because I got a better league ranking, I am a cooler person, and I'm funnier, et cetera, et cetera. You're putting et cetera there because you're out of things to say, right? Whenever somebody's like, well, you know, there's a whole bunch of reasons why this could be different. Oh, really? Name one. I did that, I think, like twice to Dinesh. I was like, oh, wait, there's reasons. Whoa, name one. I want to hear one. Give me the story where children are crawling around in the front yard covered in dog shit, but you don't call CPS. And he's like, well, what if you guys have a workshop on finger painting with dog shit?
Government intervention in this specific case is warranted, and there could be a ton of contravening
name
factors
one.
that would cause someone to
name
say,
one. Please ask him to name one.
Notwithstanding that there's risk of a kid being materially affected in terms of their health, that calling CPS is still not justified given X, Y, Z. There's an additional set of inferences and considerations that any reasonable person is going to think about. Especially half of these people who don't even think the police should exist. And like everything should be fucking social workers, and there should be no coercive force of the state at all. So all I'm saying is you haven't made your case alone by saying they call it justified CPS by stating merely that they thought there was a material effect in health and that they're negligent. And even here, like, it's less of an inference given the fact that she didn't actually say that. She just kind of like,
No. She said that kids will die from that disease, that she agreed that bad empanada was like, she agreed with all that. She said that kids die from that and it's very serious.
It's funny too because it feels like the Trump shit, because it'll be like there's certain behavior that you can defend if you don't have all the facts or if the facts are unknown. You're like, well, I don't know, maybe Trump really did think that he had declassified these things, or maybe Trump really didn't know, if that was classified or not. But like when the facts of the case are like, well, he got the classified documents that were brought up to his room so that he could review them, that had the classified markings on them, and then he took some classified material back to his office and kept other classified material, told his employee to hide classified material, told other people, hey, look at this classified material that I didn't declassify, and then told his lawyers, hey, for this classified stuff that we kept that Nara's asking for that said it's classified that I'm not supposed to have, should we just like throw that away? And he's like the worst possible person to defend, because you have absolutely no out for any sort of like plausible deniability anywhere. And like I feel like this is like Peace goes into one of those situations. Jesus.
Like, what if a kid went to school and told his teacher, my parents neglect me all day and I play in dog shit? Would the teacher be
maybe the kid's lying? Maybe the kid's lying.
Yeah, no, I think that there could be a duty to report in those circumstances. That's a separate question.
Okay.
That's a separate question from whether the individual who made such claims is themselves justifying CPS to be called. Someone can make that claim. I want to hear you acknowledge this, right? Someone can make that report and say, yeah, I saw them playing in dog shit, and then let's say the teacher is a mandatory reporter, call CPS, and then they go there, and the person who said that, what the fuck? Why did you call CPS? I didn't want you to do that. And there's no contradiction there. Agree, yes, no?
I don't follow.
Okay, the example is as follows. A kid, or let's say another adult, a fellow adult talks to a teacher and says, you know, Billy, they're letting them play in like this very dangerous backyard. I don't think that it makes sense. You know, I just, I don't know what to do about it. Tell the teacher understands their obligations that they're mandatory report or whatever. And they go and say that. And the teacher comes back and says, I have to take your shit to the higher ups. And then the person who reported says, what the hell? I trusted you. Why did you call that? That was wrong to do. Why'd you do that?
Well, we're talking about a hypothetical kid in this situation, right?
Oh my God. The question is there an inconsistency between the person who made that complaint and then being frustrated and upset that CPS was called? Is there an inconsistency?
Whoops. That guy should have killed me too.
No, there's not, Hutch. No, there's not. Someone could take the view that notwithstanding the risk to the child, that notwithstanding the fact that there's perceived negligence, that the cost and harm of calling CPS is not justified.
Yeah, but the parent is wrong because they got caught doing a bad, not because they were wronged. Like, are we saying that all harm is like relative, or rather like subjective or arbitrary, that there isn't some real harm and some like bullshit harm? Or I don't even know.
Given the circumstances, and you need to make an additional inference before you make the claim that they justified it, unless you're willing to grant the vaccine cases, which I don't even know. Like, are you even trying to distinguish those? How are you even trying to distinguish those?
What I'm getting at is what Denham's alleged. She supported these claims. She agreed with the claims and expanded on them. The claim that she was making was that Ethan's kids are being so severely neglected that they're playing in dog poop and contracting serious diseases that can kill them.
Right, those are facts from which one could justify calling CPS.
Yes.
They are not themselves a justification for CPS.
No, but I'm not making that claim. I didn't make that claim. I didn't make that claim.
The whole point of raising this is to say the mere fact that someone has that opinion, you should not carry with that the intent that they want to actualize the state of affairs in which CPS is in fact called. And what I'm calling out is the notion that people will claim that based on these...
Hutch, oh fuck, there's a killer question that Hutch could ask here. Okay, what would we use to infer what their intent is by bringing up said things? What could we use to infer? Because the answer is going to be the reaction to it, right? Because it could be if somebody calls CPS, right? And, you know, they find out about it, Denham's and the crew, they're like, oh shit, guys, like, hey, chill. This came from my community, not cool, right? But if they're all laughing and giggling about it as soon as report it, maybe that is what they intended, you know, maybe?
Statements that they were advocating it happened, we should treat them as such.
But she didn't, her claim too. But she didn't present it as an opinion. She presented it as a fact. Ethan's kids are being severely neglected, they're playing in shit, and they're contracting diseases that might kill them. And that is why I'm trying to demonstrate. You said before that her lack of moderation was negligent, and I'm trying to demonstrate why it was negligent. It's because what she said, somebody who's watching her stream, who takes her as a good faith actor, who takes her at her word, might feel justifiably concerned about Ethan's kids. Because of that lie.
That's true of anyone who even watches the video at all, even to do the bare minimum of criticizing the video. The mere fact that someone could stop doesn't mean it's
not the same thing, bro. If you're watching the video and criticizing it, you're saying, well, you know, kind of the same thing as like her saying, no, there's kids are gonna die. It's not the same thing, man.
If you keep running into the same wall, I'm gonna bring it up every time. The mere fact, you don't need to just show that the mere, like, it's possible that someone could have that interpretation. What you need to show is that they either intended it or that it's extremely likely that it would occur.
Extremely likely?
I don't see a case for that. But that's, we haven't even reached the lawsuit aspect. This is just to, like, I think this is an insanely harsh standard, and I'm not just saying that because they're fucking lefties. Fuck them. And they did this shit with fucking Kamala and whatever. I don't think that they endorsed Kamala and all this other shit about the election. I'm not here. I'm just here because I'm noticing shit, and it's making people upset that this kind of standard of moderation, where they're responsible for the substantive acts because they fail to moderate responsibly, that is a standard that ought not be applied to people across the board, and it is not applied to people across the board.
So she was negligent, but she has no responsibility.
She is negligent to the extent of violating the obligation to minimize risk. Because I think that there's some amount of risk.
Okay.
What she's not culpable for is the actual calling of CPS.
Nobody
That's what she's not culpable for.
Nobody made that claim.
They are making the claim.
No, they
What the
didn't.
fuck?
Who?
Are
Who
we
said-
even into this?
Who
People are claiming-
said that she like called CPS? Who's saying that?
No. Culpable for the CPS call doesn't mean she literally called CPS.
That's what you're saying, though,
Pisco.
Pisco.
Morally responsible for the CPS call.
She is obviously ethically responsible to moderate her audience and to be responsible with her rhetoric.
I agree with that.
Like every other creator, and there were very
Absolutely.
serious
Totally.
consequences that happened as a result of actions
You
that they
don't know that.
all took. They all did it. All of them did the same thing, and they're all, in my opinion, responsible for that.
As though they're intentional actors here, and one of the outcomes occur.
Yeah.
I don't think that you would ever apply that standard to
Sure, I would.
anybody of your no.
You think you think this is about the fact that they're like lefties? That's what this is about, really?
No, if I call, so for example, I call a bunch of MAGA people in the administration and these influencers fascists, you agree that could lead someone reasonably to take that as we should kill them?
No, we have a different opinion about reasonableness here, because fascism is a real thing. There's descriptors. You can make the case in this, that, and the other thing, and then you can also make the case that the way that the difference again is that like there is no element of you even remotely implying that it would be justified to do political violence. The difference between that and Denham's is that she did lay out her justification, an attempt at a sincere justification to involve.
You wouldn't say because I called Charlie Kirk a fascist. Now someone could take that statement and believe it's true, and then justify the action against Charlie Kirk. But I am not justifying. I know this is what Republicans do, right? They think because I call Charlie Kirk a fascist that I am saying he should be killed. But that's an inference that I didn't make. The scope
Republicans
of my claims,
don't even believe
now,
that, bro.
In which one could imply it. I'm not a literalist, okay? And don't try to paint me as a literalist. I'm not a literalist. But from what I saw of Denham's, there is not even an implication there that what she wants to see, what she wants to actualize, is the state of affairs in which CPS is called. And even Ethan has backed away from that claim, as I understand.
But nonetheless, her and all of them contributed in their own ways.
Has Ethan actually backed away from that claim?
No, I don't find this analogous at all.
Can you explain why they're different?
Because you are trying to make the case that it is plausible that she didn't see what was going on in her chat. Like you're trying to, and I don't accept that. I don't find that plausible. I think that's ridiculous. I think she obviously saw that, and I suspect that's why she started to go down that road rhetorically, even talking about that. I think she was bouncing off of them at that point. I think that is the logical inference.
What I'm telling you is, a Republican can come back and say, listen, I don't care. You know, Pisco didn't moderate his chat when they were calling Kirk fascist. There were people in his chat saying Kirk is a Nazi.
No, that's not the same.
No, why not? Why not? Explain why.
To make it the same, you would have to have people in your chat that were saying we should unalive Charlie Kirk.
Explicitly.
Oh my God! And Hutch stumbles upon it. His intuitions are so good in this conversation. That is correct. That would be the differentiating factor. And intuitively, we would all feel differently about it. If people were constantly saying, we should kill him, and then somebody killed him, everybody would be like, ooh, not good. That's actually super not good.
Explicitly. And if the case is that and if I see that and don't moderate the thing, I'm responsible for Kirk's death. I want to hear you say that.
I would say
you would have some culpability for it, sure, yeah.
To a culture of political violence, yes. I would say that about you.
That's a little too weak.
Without any evidence that Tyler Robinson, that first of all, that my contribution.
No, we would have to not know who shot him for this to be analogous, right?
So at the time, I saw someone say kill Charlie Kirk, and I'm just like, whatever, I'm not gonna ban this guy. At that moment, I'm contributing to a culture that could cause the death of Charlie Kirk, and so I'm partly culpable if he's killed.
Yes, sure.
I see where you're going with this, but in that moment you would be contributing in your own way. I think that is like a much more kind of abstract kind of situation here, because Charlie Kirk has the attention of like so many other people, so it's almost like infinitely bigger than what we're talking about right now. Whereas what I'm talking about is a very specific group of like a dozen people who were all pushing the same thing about this situation. But I would say in that moment that you were being irresponsible. I grant that though. I grant that. But the question isn't am I being irresponsible? I'm gonna keep going to this. All right, we're quibbling about like culpability. We're quibbling about the word culpable. That's precisely what we're doing. It's a difference of opinion. I think we've reached the point where it's just like agree to disagree. I do think you have a responsibility, and I think they all but when you say that, it's all like danced and joked about this situation. And it was fucking disgusting. Don't say it like I don't think they have a responsibility. You just heard me acknowledge that I think they have a responsibility for moderating and finding standards of decency and whatever and all that stuff. What I'm saying isn't that they don't have a responsibility. What I'm saying isn't that they don't have a responsibility. What I'm saying isn't that they don't have a responsibility. What I'm saying is they don't have culpable responsibility for the specific malicious act underneath. No, but you just said a moment ago. You just said a moment ago that there's a non-zero chance that Denham's rhetoric and behavior that day indirectly led to it happening. Hutch isn't going to understand this because Pisco's using such a crazy definition of responsibility here. It's impossible. What would you estimate? It's an impossible thing to understand because it doesn't make any sense because even Pisco doesn't agree with it. I want you to answer that question. Yeah, so I think that yours is probably smaller, but you might smaller. I want to give me a percentage. It's about intent here. It's about intent. In my opinion, significantly smaller. But no, I want a number. I want a number. What's the percentage likelihood that it came from my audience versus Denham's? If you had to pick numbers, I think orders of magnitude, maybe. Okay, then stop. Then stop, man. Come on.
Hutch, listen to my thing. You said that a sufficient condition is non-zero chance. That's your standard. So I acknowledge that there's a difference between the likelihood between your audience and hers. But what you said, right? I'm just reflecting your standard. What you said to me, and I just want to remind you. You said, but you acknowledge there's a non-zero chance, and so I come to you. Well, you agree in your case there's a non-zero chance, and so you say, well, isn't there a difference in this? Yeah. But so we have to actually get in the weeds about what we think is significant.
But do you know
why?
why?
Want to get in those weeds?
No, but no, we can. There's a big difference here in this situation because you know why I'm not culpable. You know why I could like.
Because I don't intend. I don't intend.
I never fucking made the claim that it was justified to call CPS, and I never would ever, no matter how much I disliked Vader, I would never, ever allow my chat to do that.
You said you're not culpable because you didn't make the claim that it would be justified to call CPS.
And I actively moderate my chat.
Did Denims? Wait, so I'll just ask them one at a time. Did Denims make the claim that it would be?
Wait. So now, in order to do it, this is the Trump argument, right? Did they actually say, I, Donald J. Trump, U.S. citizen in America, I intend to break the law. Otherwise, it's mind reading, right?
Justified to call CPS. Did she make the claim? Did she make the statement?
Why are we circling? Are we circling back to this for the fourth time now? The three factors?
So back to there.
We're back there now.
These are like ad hoc factors that you've created. That it's
ad hoc. What are you talking about? Yeah, they're not relevant. What do you mean?
They're outcome oriented. They're outcome oriented. They're the three sacred factors because these are what you think for the purpose of getting to the results you want. Those are the ones that matter to you. But the three factors.
No, they matter just because they matter, bro. I'm telling you why she was irresponsible.
Okay, but I grant that it was irresponsible.
I'm telling you how she was negligent.
I don't know why you keep doing this, right? I granted in the first second that it was irresponsible. Do you remember when I granted that in the first second? Do you remember that? I'm asking that question.
Yeah, but I can't reconcile it with everything else you're saying, though.
Because
like,
you really don't see a difference between ethical responsibility versus one obligation with respect to your moderation and the responsibility for the underlying malicious act. You really don't understand the difference between those two.
I mean, I recall earlier in this conversation, you were saying like she didn't have an ethical resposibility to moderate her chat.
Make sure you're inside.
Now it sounds like you're singing a different tune.
I never said that, Hutch.
Well, we'd have to go back in the fucking stream. I'm pretty sure you said that.
Go in the VOD.
Pretty sure.
Wait, didn't say what?
Conversation, you were saying like she didn't have an ethical responsibility to moderate her chat, and now it sounds like you're singing a different tune.
I never said that, Hutch.
Well, we'd have to go back in the fucking stream. I'm pretty.
The reason why Hutch is confused here is because Pisco has created like a hole with only a single entrance. It's an impossible thing that nobody in the history of ethical or legal or professional obligations or responsibilities has ever thought about these things in the absence of harm and moral culpability resulting from said harm. Nobody has ever thought about this. There are bad things that can happen if you don't fulfill your obligations and responsibilities. You are kind of responsible for the things that could happen if you fail to adhere to your obligations and responsibilities. And Pisco was trying to pretend there's a whole different category of things, a neo-responsibility category that you like, or it's a responsibility category and then like a neo-harms category where like the harm is just that you didn't adhere to the responsibility. But that has nothing to do with the real harms that occur. Those are some other type of harm. It's retarded. It's retarded.
Pretty sure you said that. Go in the VOD. Go in the fucking VOD, man. I was consistent. You said, does it increase the risk? Yes. Is there an ethical obligation? Ought she do it? I said, yeah, she ought not play that. Actually, I'm going to ask you. Do you remember when I said that she should not have played that bad empanada clip? Do you remember when I said that?
Not really. My brain's mush at this point.
So like, why? If you're not remembering,
no, it's because I'm frazzled. Because my brain is fried trying to walk you through my thinking here. And trying to like navigate your.
I feel like I also just get really annoyed too. I think some of the most like evil, like depraved type shit that I get the most annoyed about is when you have people who like people like Hutch or people like I don't know, like Josiah or maybe Lonerbox. I don't know. These are people who I view as like almost, I don't want to say naivety. These people have like relentless good faith. I feel like they're always trying really fucking hard to understand what you're saying, and they're not usually ascribing malice or bad faith to you. When I see Pisco like worm his way like a little like devious snake fuck in here and is like twisting what they're saying and playing these stupid fucking word games and trying to be sneaky and conniving and they're pretending like they don't understand what the other person, it's just like a very disgusting thing to do to somebody who's like being so good faith. Like I don't mind him treating Rob Nora this way, I guess, or Andrew Wilson or whatever else this way, but like I don't know, it just seems really sad. Like I don't fuck. Maybe he doesn't like Hutch, or maybe they're like enemies behind the scenes. I don't know that. Maybe who knows? I don't know if they still have their show together. I don't know. Maybe
your craftiness, your caginess, your lawyer tricks.
Trying to do tricks, bro.
Yeah, you are.
It's their rights or infringements of privacy or malicious conduct. That those kinds of implications are different as between those two ethical obligations. That is a very simple, clean concept, and that's not confusing at all. And it ought not be confusing for you either.
Sorry, my stream is experiencing problems. It does this. I don't know why it's doing this. It's weird. It's the same time every day. At like 3:30, I start dropping hella frames, and it gets bad. I don't know.
It's Newsom's rolling blackouts, man. These California people, they want to turn our country into Russia. So Russia.
Hey, listen. At the end of the day, I think you think that Ethan's actions were disproportionate, and I already told you, like, I'm open to that, so I don't even know what we're arguing about. Like, I'm open to the idea that, like, and I don't have a good answer for you, you know? Like, I don't know. I can't tell you if it's, like, too much or if it's appropriate. All I can tell you is that if I was in Ethan's position, I fully understand his desire to try to impose consequences.
The question is, do you understand it, right?
Yes.
I understand that on Ethan's view, it's trivially obvious that he would understand that he would have that view because he's the one doing it.
And he'd be
the question
justified.
Isn't on his view.
He'd be
it's on
justified.
your view as you.
No, but I'm trying to give you the best answer I can, and I'm not trying to be a cop out. I'm not trying to give you a cop out answer. Like, I'm really not. Like,
but how it feels like, you ever have those Israel-Palestine debates where people are like, I understand why Israel would do this. I understand if I was Israel, why they would do this. Or I understand why, or even from the leftist perspective, I understand why Hamas would do that.
Yeah.
If I was in the Hamas shoes.
I've had those conversations. I've said those words.
Who the fuck cares? Like, that's just trivial. It's obvious that if you're Hamas, you're gonna understand, you're gonna like have the sympathies that Hamas does, and same thing with, you know, Ben Gvir.
I've had those conversations. I've had literally those conversations. So, like, I understand.
No,
yeah.
That is useless, like masturbation. It's not like the question is.
I don't think it's useless. I mean,
our views.
No, I don't think it's useless because, like, listen, like, there is no like science to this. You know what I mean? Like, there just isn't. We can't. You can try to appeal with like laws of logic and that kind of stuff, but like, there is no like explicitly correct answer here. And I am trying to be nuanced, and that's not me like trying to wiggle out of taking your position or whatever. Like, I am sympathetic to like all the parties involved here. I'm less sympathetic to Denims these days, to be honest with you. I'm less sympathetic to her because I just, I don't know if you saw her recent stream, but it's a bit much. Like,
sympathetic for Casey Tron if you think she did this horrible thing and that she's culpable for this awful. You called her sociopathic. Do you realize you called her sociopathic?
Yeah, I think she did.
Why would you feel sympathy for a sociopath?
I feel
how you can feel that.
I feel sympathy for people that get the death penalty. I feel sympathy for people that are in prison for the rest of their lives.
You feel sympathy for Hitler? Is that what you mean? The Kanye West
version? You're really testing my morals here, but like, no, I do try to empathize with people that I don't even like. Like, I do have sympathy for people that have done terrible things.
Sociopaths that want to do horrible.
I like how Pisco has gotten to the point where Pisco is He's like, actually, intuitively, we don't empathize with other people. Didn't you actually know our intuitions actually don't lead us to empathize with anybody? Did you know intuitively we actually don't empathize with other human suffering at all, actually? Our intuitions actually point, like, what if it's actually, like, I don't, how much more crazy can you get in your argumentation? Jesus Christ.
Things that are malicious and
sure, yeah. Yeah.
And they want to take Ethan's kids away. You feel sympathetic for them.
Yeah, of course.
And you don't want to ruin financially sociopaths who only produce malice and bad things in the world. I mean,
I think it's pretty normal to feel empathy for people that did bad things when they're getting their comeuppance. I think people generally, I think it's a pretty normal, like, ooh, damn, that sucks. It sucks, man. But you fucked up. Like, yeah, I think it's a pretty normal thing.
Depends on the day you ask me and what mood I'm in, I suppose, right? Isn't that what it is to be a human being? Like, do we really have perfectly consistent kind of?
I guess,
like,
I'll grant you this, Hutch. There are some times when I'm like, you know what? Hitler didn't choose to have the brain he did. These sociopaths, they are born / nurtured in a particular way that makes them the way they are.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I didn't think that that's what you were talking about, that ultimately elastic version of sympathy when you were talking about Casey Tron. It seemed like you weren't sympathetic in the sense of, well, I'm sympathetic to all beings, regardless of what causes them. I thought that you were saying something more particular about her circumstances and like that don't have to do with like this kind of like ultimately totally expansive version.
No, it's like both. It's both of those things. Like,
like you can feel sympathetic towards somebody while understanding that the punishment is justified.
The idea of like everybody in her, I don't know if she's supporting her family. I'm not 100% up to date on her situation there, but no, I wouldn't like the idea of like her family, losing their home or something like that if they're relying on her for income.
Overall, it's beneficial. Then like, okay, maybe you feel some sympathy, but like, she deserves it. She deserves to have to pay.
He didn't do that though. He didn't do that though.
Like, this is Pisco is giving a sociopathic take here. This is actual sociopathy. Like, Pisco's watching some guy being hanged, and others like, ooh, that's gruesome. And it's like, well, on the net, it's actually beneficial that we have capital punishment for people that break the laws in the way that they do. So I actually am kind of enjoying watching his face turn blue and the weird snapping sound that his spine made when the guy kicked the bucket from underneath him. So, on balance, I think it's actually great. I feel fine. Like, Jesus Christ.
No, I'm asking you, like, do you think that she deserved what she got?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though the copyright infringement has literally zero to do with
yes,
what we're talking about.
I think she deserved that little walk of shame. Yeah, I think she earned that.
Yep.
I'm glad she doesn't have to pay money for the rest of her life.
Are you often,
I think she deserved that.
An insincere apology. Do you often like people to give insincere apologies and you get gratification out of it?
It's like, bro, every apology usually comes after you get caught doing some fuck shit. Oh my god.
What kind of a question? This is not a very normal thing that comes up in life.
I don't know why people get like satisfaction out of these like fake apologies that aren't actual like justice search. Maybe in the sense of like,
well,
if I was pushed, what they did was like truly horrendous or whatever. The mere fact that it's maybe it is a deterrent effect of some kind, but that's just going to ground out into our priors about and evidence for the purpose of the lawsuit. So maybe that's what why there's a distinction.
Well, do you think that there should have been any consequences for what they did?
For copyright infringement?
No. Well, sure. I mean, I don't know. That's a separate discussion. Frankly, I don't care about that discussion. But like, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about
No.
this.
Isn't that the whole purpose? Like the whole purpose is whether or not we agree with the lawsuits, and the lawsuits are about copyright infringement. Like,
It's about, I mean, it's about the lawsuit specifically, but it's more about just this idea of like imposing consequences on somebody who violated your family. Isn't that what it's about?
Yeah, but you don't agree with beating them up.
Sure. I obviously think that I don't think they should be killed, either.
You don't
Like,
think someone should, I mean, you don't think someone should call CPS on them, right?
no, I don't. No, I think that was really bad.
You have your
No,
line.
no, answer the question.
We don't have eye for an eye in the United States. That's not generally the way that we approach justice in a criminal sense or a civil sense. Did you know that? You don't. It's not normally an eye for an eye. Did you know that in the U.S.? That's not how that works usually.
Should there any consequences, right? Like, doesn't need to be legal, but like some accountability, some kind of punishment, some kind of something, right?
Yes, they should get like a slap on the wrist from Twitch.
All right, then that's
A slap on the wrist from Twitch.
the disagreement. Just the severity of it. Like, we agree that she did a bad thing and she deserved
be like-
consequences. We disagree. I
You're
think she
banned
got
by
off, right? Like, what?
you should moderate your chat more, so they're not actively calling for CPS. That's
Yeah. And you definitely should not be joking about it after the
it
fact.
should be proportional and tailored to the kind of thing we're talking about here. That's number one. And number two, separately, if someone is being
He
deceptive
settled,
about
though. He settled, though. He didn't make her destitute. All she had to do
True.
was apologize.
True.
All she had to do was get up there and prostrate
True.
herself a little bit
True.
and
For
apologize.
what? So the apology was extracted by what?
She had
Why was
leverage.
it, yeah, it was coerced by financial motivations, correct?
Because she violated
That's what it's a. I'm done. Okay, done.
the copyright, correct?
Right,
Yeah.
that don't relate in sum or substance to the underlying claim. Fair?
No. I think it's both. Like, I think he genuinely does care about like lazy react, and I think he felt. But if I had to guess, I really don't know. If I had to guess, I would say he was probably more motivated by the abuse that his family suffered as a result of like a culture that arose out of all of their communities.
Yeah, maybe. Don't you agree that he wanted them to infringe?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was setting a trap.
Yeah. So in what sense can you say he wanted to punish them for infringement, and that that this was a bad thing that was done to him?
It was an
if
easy,
he
predictable
wanted-
thing.
He wanted, but you're saying he wanted it to occur,
Yeah.
right? So the harm.
Yeah, but wanting something to occur, like I might want.
So when somebody says, "Give me a reason," just give me a reason. What they're really saying is whatever bad thing you do to them is the thing that they actually want. This has to be like a troll. Like Pisco's gonna announce in like 2 weeks, like, "Hey guys, this was the meme shit. I just wanted to meme for some number of fucking weeks, months, years. This can't be real."
I might want a bad thing to happen because I think a better thing will follow that bad thing. Like we're confronted with this in politics all the time, right?
Right. So So that's my point. That the thing that is achieving the better results isn't the grounding for the basis of what's going on. It's the pretext. It's a pretext. Do you agree it's a pretext?
But it is to a certain degree. But again, we disagree because I think it's both. I do think he does genuinely care about lazy react. He obviously cares about it. He's had a history of caring about it. He confronted XQC about it, talked about it on his podcast all the time. So clearly this guy was already, like, he does like give a fuck about that, right?
I mean, I grant that at least at some point he did care about the React community, that he did care about copyright infringement. What I deny is that this lawsuit is motivated by that concern. That's what I deny.
But where's your certainty though? Where do you get the
so
certainty?
It's based on my what I think are reasonable inferences on a set of evidence. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'd have to explain, like, so, like, you acknowledge that he has a history of talking about lazy react and he definitely cares about that, right? Okay,
Yes,
so
that's
but
one of the
all
reasons.
that is gone.
No. That is part of my rationale for why it isn't motivating this. So the fact that he has a track record here is not helpful for him in this context, given the nature of what his stated rationale was. It's hurtful. And that seems preposterous to you. I can explain why.
It's not following the
I'm a
same.
little stuck on your thing of like, oh, well, why would you want the bad thing to happen when you're against the bad thing? But it's like, you could use that logic to say, like, well, like, why did the FBI do a sting operation where there was a drug transfer, like, selling drugs is bad, right? So that doesn't make any sense. Do you understand that logic is a little flawed?
Below me?
What logic? I mean,
You're saying, like, oh, well, how could you say he's, he says he's against the thing, but he trapped them to do the thing? And it's like, well, I don't understand.
That's not what I'm saying is, if you have a prior principle that one upholds, and one sticks to the principle, then I think that justifies an inference that one is maintaining the principle. But if there's as opposed to a blank slate, if there's a previous principle and that one makes statements either in contradiction or that undermine that principle previously stated, I think that most people, in view of those, what I take to be an inconsistent application of previously stated principles, the inference usually from that is indicative of more deceit, right? A prior inconsistent statement and statements that don't make sense in light of each other. That from that, I think normally people intuit deception. Okay, this is not like
he was being deceptive in setting a trap, sure.
Or context in which deception can be justified. All right, that's not what I'm suggesting. The deception that I think is not justified is what he's stating to the audience, and this is what he's saying to the audience. That part of the reason, one of the main reasons, in fact, for bringing this lawsuit, is to set a precedent to protect the destruction of the React community as we know it from absolutely shattering precedent that Disney or Sony could set. Those are his words, Hutch. Do you believe those words?
I have no reason to disbelieve them explicitly, to be honest. No.
Okay, the reason I disbelieve them is because A, they're not plausible. They're not plausible at all. The notion that Ethan might think that suing like Denims and Casey-tron and Frogan would at all affect the nature of Disney and Sony suing and establishing terrible precedent, that is preposterous. The more outlandish the belief is, the more unlikely it is that someone actually holds it. That's only part. I mean, there's so much.
Wait, why is that so
wrong,
outlandish?
That wouldn't mean that he's lying. Like, if he believes it, but is wrong.
I understand that by itself it doesn't necessarily prove to 100% certainty or even fucking 90% certainty that that's what's going on. That's just part. I'm building blocks, right? And you have to look at the wall as a whole, the totality of circumstances. So the first piece of evidence is the rank and plausibility of the claim. The notion that someone who's fairly learned about copyright infringement, this guy, had lawsuits regarding copyright infringement that he's lost before, I think, and he's also won against the bold guy. That he has this view that this intentional stated malice is the sine qua non of copyright infringement. The kind of way that he presents it in video is preposterous. But one is as a legal matter. Second, the notion that someone like that Ethan Klein thinks that when he establishes precedent on fair use, given his view that the vast majority of these kinds of React channels, that there's rampant theft, what he calls theft of intellectual property, that any kind of decision, any kind of legal decision, either from a legal precedent perspective, that legal precedent is going to protect the React community as opposed to significantly curtail the current meta, which is overwhelmingly infringing, is ludicrous. He must know that in pressing a claim on a reaction video, he is going to give the court an opportunity to opine on the 4 fair use factors. By the way, they're not exhaustive, but the 4 main fair use factors.
I read them yesterday.
In such a way, right. So, for example, for purpose and character of the work, usually the main focus of the inquiry there is transformation. Any precedent on summary judgment or dispositive motion related to whether this is transformative or whether there's the character purpose of use sides on the side of fair use, the court in coming to these determinations go through all the factors, and they're going to go factor 1. This is not transformative. It's not transformative because look at the percentage of the video, look at how much commentary is in there, commercial purpose. Is this providing sufficient commentary? How many portions of it include commentary such that you actually need this? And the tests start to merge because the purpose and character of the use merges with like the amount and substantiality. Here, Denham's used all of it. She used a part of the work. Was that necessary to the nature of her critique, especially when she's spending this amount of time kind of giving just blithe remarks? Look at this precedent from SDNY, this judge in previous cases where it's more of like a watch party as opposed to deliberately splice things. Anyone with a single brain cell, and Ethan surely knows this, knows that these courts, they go 1, 2, 3, 4. And those factors aren't just going to bear poorly on Denham's. It's going to bear poorly on the React meta as a whole. The specific thing he's saying, he has no intention to undermine. And that is with respect to XQC.
Wait, why does he think that?
Wouldn't that be the key consideration here?
The stated intentional malice? Fuck no. There's a case called Warhol, and what Sonia Sotomayor in the majority writes is that purpose and character of use is an objective factor. It is not subjective. That the mere statements of the artist don't make a particular purpose or character of use a particular thing or not. That case was decided recently, and there is certain statements from old cases like Harper and Rowe from the Supreme Court.
I haven't read that, but just by the way that fucking Pisco stated it, I am so curious. He said that Sotomayor wrote that the author's intended use of the work doesn't necessarily mean that that is the character of the work. I wonder if what she was saying there was somebody saying that a thing is free use, or somebody saying that this thing is meant to be parody or whatever, doesn't necessarily make it parody or whatever. It sounds like Pisco's trying to state that that statement was way different. I haven't read Sotomayor. I don't know anything about the major lawsuit, but I'm very curious what the actual quote is from Sotomayor there, or what she's dealing with when she says that, because it sounds like Pisco is butchering the fuck out of where that comes from.
That suggests that good faith might play a role in their analysis, but in the most recent precedent on SCOTUS in the Warhol decision, they said it's an objective inquiry. It's not about intentional stated. Like you can say, so for example, it would be like saying the following, right? At the start of your stream, you go, this is transformative, this is fair use, therefore it's fair use and transformative.
Yeah, but it's not. That's not true.
Is not part of the analysis.
Sure, that's fine. No.
All right. Now I'm curious.
Wait, what's wrong with that? I don't understand what he's so worried about here.
Do you disagree with Ethan that there is rampant sort of abuse of copyright?
Of course not. No.
You don't agree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that.
Okay, so you.
That's why I think that's one of the reasons that this is disingenuous.
Okay, so you don't disagree that there's rampant abuse of fair use with, but you
as exemplified by XQC, as
right.
Gold, Hassan Piker, all these people.
So what is your ideal remedy here? To write new laws to expand fair use, or because you're saying you don't want them to come back with a decision that will like fatally chill the React community so as to basically like destroy it? Like what is your preferred remedy to this situation?
I just want to be clear. It doesn't bear on what I think the deception is.
I just want to know, because if you don't disagree,
out of curiosity, I do think that the current law is such that these React streams are basically 80% infringement, and I think that there ought to be new laws that clarify the scope of reaction videos. Maybe they're platform specific. Maybe they have certain sets of factors. But no, I don't think that in fact the current laws as they are would be approving of the kind of content that you're seeing from all these React streamers. Yeah, it's like when video games first started showing up on YouTube stuff. Technically, all those gaming companies could have filed copyright claims, and they still could today. In fact, they do sometimes. I think Nintendo has done it. What do they do, Hutch, when there's an infringement?
They take the video down. There's like a DMCA claim, and they take the video down, right? Yeah. So like, but the thing with the video games is like they all realized that they would probably make more money if they just allowed YouTube content because getting all these views or whatever. And so there's been
some have chosen not to press potential claims that they have.
The vast majority.
I would say most go through the DMCA.
For video game stuff? No, definitely not.
To the extent that there's infringing content.
Well, it's all infringing. That's the point. Like anytime you post a video of like yourself playing Call of Duty.
To the extent that there's infringement and they have a desire to take action,
yes.
what they do is they don't file a lawsuit. They have a DMCA takedown. Right.
Right.
So the notion that setting precedent, that's an additional reason that this isn't plausible. The notion that setting precedent in the form of a legal ruling, which by the way now he's settling, which he isn't achieving, so I guess I don't know what precedent it is, but to the extent that there is any precedent, it's not going to curtail these kinds of the main enforcement mechanisms of things like Disney and Sony, which is not through lawsuits, it's through DMCA takedown notices that people don't contest, and that they are able to take down shit. So like it's not in any respect protecting only a fool, only someone who is so deranged and it really has no understanding would think that this has any effect on what Disney or Sony is going to do, and that's even further emphasized by the fact that he's settling with fucking Casey-tron for marginal amounts in which there's no fucking precedent that's been established, other than he leaned on people for apologies that don't relate in any respect to the kind of thing that he's talking about in the initial video.
I mean, he still has 2 other lawsuits live now.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between you and me is that and you might be right that that's what he did. Like maybe he didn't get, it had nothing to do with copyright. And I guess the difference between you and me is like that does not bother me in the way that it bothers you.
So if the only intention was to make these people destitute and he's lying, or to impose a punishment for the other statements.
Oh my God, bro.
Well, clearly he didn't want to make her destitute, right? Like you settled, right?
I'm saying if the purpose is not to protect the React community, but is instead only for something that he is not at all in any respect to protect the React community. If that's the case, you would have a problem with it, wouldn't you? I thought you said that lying in general is bad.
No, I didn't say, no. I said precisely the opposite. I said not all lies are created equal. This particular lie, because it's kind of content at the same time, right? Like he's got his own retribution, his own kind of cause of retribution, and it's also like this. It's like a spectacle all at the same time. And so, no, I don't
know how that affects the moral calculus that it's a spectacle. I mean, a lot of things could be spectacles, and I don't know how that. What does that affect the intuitions here?
I'm saying that it's like a show. It's like I think he wanted to publicly punish these people, and I understand why he feels that way.
That's my point. So we agree.
Right. I don't know if I ever disagree with that, but like I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing. The only
lies about it. It says protect from Disney and Sony when it is so clearly not. And also it's specifically not on the ground that he states, which he couldn't have predicted at the time he set the trap, the intentional stated malice. That is certainly not what he was planning to do when he set the trap. So in order to even buy that was in his mind, you'd have to acknowledge that he changed his mind about which precedent he wanted to set in between when he set the trap and when they did it.
Maybe he's all over the place. Maybe he convinced himself. Maybe he's lying. Maybe it's just
this is ultimate charity.
The thing that is just so annoying here is there's not even good legal analysis by Pisco. So, for instance, it could be the fact that maybe Ethan feels like he has a stronger case against one of the other 2 people that he's got a lawsuit against. Maybe settling the case with Casey-tron frees up resources for that. My understanding is, I say this because I saw 3 chat messages, so maybe this is bullshit, but I think somebody said, I might have even seen, maybe I saw this on Twitter too, that Casey-tron is cooperating also with Ethan to hand over some information related to the other 2 litigants, the other 2 parties in the other 2 cases. And if that's the case, maybe he thinks that settling with Casey-tron here gives him more, gives him the wheels. There's a terminal phrase only for you, but gives him more gas for his other 2 cases. Like he only needs to pursue one at the end of the day. Oh no. What just happened? Is my character wiped? Will I reconnect in game, or you can reconnect on one? But this game takes 12 hours to load up.
This is ultimate charity to Ethan Klein that you don't apply in the slightest to the people that you hate.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I don't have enough information. Like I could reach out and ask him, but like I don't pry to that level. Like I just don't know, and I don't know him.
I want him to acknowledge. All right, this is what I want. What I want him to acknowledge is basically, okay, it's not true. When I started with this whole React Gate stuff, this isn't about that. It's not about protecting from Sony and Disney. That was wrong when I said that, and I was, that really wasn't at all motivating me. That's what I think.
Isn't that kind of implied when he settled with Casey-tron, and now it looks pretty likely that he's settling with Frozen as well? Isn't that kind of implied?
So what you just said, isn't it implied that it isn't at all motivating him when he settles?
So you're mad that he lied? That's what this is? Like that seems like such a minor part of this entire story.
It is.
I'm mad that he lied, and also, even though I don't think it's a legal bar to bring the claim, I actually think it's chicken shit to use the copyright statute to settle scores, even if it's a valid claim. I'm saying even if it's a valid claim, I think it's chicken shit and wrong to use the copyright statute to primarily like settle scores on unrelated matters. If you felt
like somebody abused your family, like actually abused your family, like very substantively, impactfully abused your family.
Well, one, I think you have to raise to a certain level of misconduct, and then it's going to ground out into what we're talking about before.
Yeah. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. But second to that, I think that like if they abuse, you should like sue them for the abusive conduct. You should do the thing that's tailored to the issue. I'm not a big fan of these pretext shit, and I especially don't like that it's kind of sullying my image of Ethan as a defender of copyright, the same copyright approach, which he did, right? It was beautiful, magical when he was attacking XQC for his garbage, malicious conduct, which it was. And Ethan Klein says it was intentional siphoning when XQC did it. And so I don't buy this thing. It's like, you know, I don't mind thieving. What I mind is when you say you're thieving. That's what really bothers me. Like, this shit is bullshit. And I have this very positive view of Ethan Klein as one of the best people of like the lay people and influencers on copyright. He would always jump to have like a calibrated take that wasn't far lefty, get rid of all intellectual property, get rid of copyright, get rid of patents. It's all theft. But he didn't go as far as like XQC saying like, or sorry, the opposite of saying we should enforce all the time and there should be no room for fair use, that kind of thing. I really appreciated that. And this sullies my image of it. And don't try to fucking, and also personally, if we're gonna go by malice.
Sullies my image.
From PA, dude. What the fuck? What the fuck? And then also, by the way,
wait, did I say that?
No, not you. He did. He quote tweeted you, not too dissimilar to how you quote tweeted Taylor Lorenz. We need to talk about that, by the way.
Wait, when did he quote tweet?
Omitting context.
When did he quote tweet me? Ethan did?
Yeah, well, on Insta, and then he basically said, "What is this dude like, Mike from PA? You didn't stand up for me then." Just saying.
I don't think I saw that. Did I see that?
Okay, but he's basically comparing me to some lolcow, and or people who consider a lolcow who never actually, as I understand, was admitted to the bar, implying that I'm not a real lawyer, implying that I'm, you know, misrepresenting myself, whatever, and basically.
I stick up for you, bro. I do.
I'm just saying, like that happened, and
that's. And I don't. First of all, I'm not.
You, Ethan, like,
okay, so now I understand. Now fucking Hutch should do the whole. I have to. I'm sorry, because he would do the same to me if he saw the back of me. I know this guy would. I think he had the hat on. Oh wait, he's talking. Okay, I'll stop shooting. Good luck. I'm running away. What a fucking pussy ass bitch. God damn it. He was like crying. Did you get it? He's like, ugh. He's like, ugh. I just need to turn off voice in this game.
I mean, I would like to see you guys have a conversation.
Hell yeah.
But you know, talk about moderation. Like sometimes our spicy interactions evoke strong opinions in my chat, and you can ask my chat. I tell them all the time. Like I tell them all the time that we need to compartmentalize. Like for me, I'm a big boy. I know you're a big boy. I know you like the intellectual exercise of arguing. It's fun for you in the same way that it is for me. You've sharpened your brain a little bit more than I have in terms of like all the legal stuff. But like I tell my chat all the time, like when that argument is over, we're good. And so like I try in my own little way to manipulate and dissuade people in my chat.
I get you. We're good. Well, all I'm saying is like I understand that people kind of have this question, why is he spending so much time on it? Part of it is because, as I think about it more, I just do think that there are certain standards that we should expect from our creators. And I think in most cases, I give you, for example, the Tim Pool example, where let's say that you were reacting to something and it was clearly copyright infringement, and he's just trying to fuck with you because you said something about Russia. Like, we would all stand up for you and be like, hey, if you have a problem with what Hutch said about the Russia thing, why don't you address it? Why don't you actually have that conversation? And we would all kind of stand. And so I'm just trying to say, like, how would we react to this kind of tactic? And in general, most people would be against it. The one situation where we would be in favor of it, if there's some really just like predominating fucked up shit that these people did to a certain degree of threshold. And what I've heard from people with respect to their misconduct is in the realm of, I'm just sorry to say, it's not this kind of like, we're extolling you to call CPS, maybe bad empanada, so sue a bad empanada on that stuff, but I haven't seen the evidence for these people to suggest that like they rise to that threshold where I would kind of be accepting of this tactic. And so that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about, but it is a kind of tactic that I find unsavory, and I think it's wrong. But you can disagree, man.
I mean, I hear that. I do.
Horrible waste of fucking time. Jesus fuck. What a terrible.
Is the point that's probably most tired is we
What?
messed up during COVID. I get it. We could have done better.
Come on. The thing that I don't like when he makes these concessions is he's missing, I think, what the strong and popular claim is about it. The strong claim on the right is not, and even on the popular side, the claim is not that the doctors messed up during COVID. It's that they intentionally messed up during COVID.
But I do take some of the criticism to heart and agree with that perhaps I was a bit too passive in the first conversation. That was perhaps too patient and therefore missed some opportunities.
For a lot of people, just having somebody explain it for the first time is incredibly valuable because their social media feeds are so ruined that they don't even have access to the correct information on first pass.
I went back.
It's not about winning, it's about getting to the truth.
What I would like to see is freedom for me as a patient.
That's one of the things that RFK and the Maha movement represents.
He's clearly being demonized by the media.
Do you know why he did it?
Yes.
Why?
I can quote you word for word why he did it. I'm not arguing with you. I agree conflict of research
Flip the switch
exists.
so fast and then it's like,
But I agree with you. Aren't you mad at that?
I absolutely am, because I care about people.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, and today I'm surrounded by 15 RFK Jr. supporters. I went for round 2 to do the Jubilee Surrounded series, despite a lot of people warning me that there was no benefit to be had, but I disagreed, so I went back, and I'm about to tell you why. Huge thanks to Ground News for sponsoring this video.
Thanks, Ground News.
When I asked people whether or not I should go back to do Jubilee again, most people said no. They said, you already showed yourself to be an empathetic doctor, the content might get too repetitive, you already showed the best side of yourself, what are you gonna get by continuing to argue with people who disagree with you? People in general are pretty down on Jubilee. In fact, I've done multiple interviews with legitimate outlets, Vanity Fair, PBS NewsHour, where it seemed like the people that were writing the pieces had a negative view of the series as a whole, as if having these types of debates were not valuable and actually problematic to society. This is where I disagree. I think that there is tremendous value in having conversations with people who disagree with you, as long as they're done respectfully, of course, because there have been episodes where people just get into this name-calling thing, and I'm not a fan of those episodes, but that's gonna happen.
One of the most annoying things about like debate is people have this thing that they always say for people say for different reasons. For like Asmongold or for Hassan, it's a fucking cope. Well, especially for Hassan. Actually, I think Asmon just says he doesn't like the debate. Fuck it. But like, people will say like, oh, well, debate isn't good because nobody's really changing their mind. Just people screaming each other, whatever. The issue is that Jubilee like leans into what is the popular format and what like monetizes views the best. And for the Jubilee debates, it really is just like that, like what looks the best and what sounds the best and what gets the most clicks. And it's not as much maybe about like changing minds and shit. So it is kind of annoying that like Jubilee is like one of the premier kind of like debater platforms right now, given that they basically just completely play into and endorse that stereotype of debate is just people screaming at each other.
When you have two parties that are in disagreement. I thought my first episode was great in that I was able to lend an empathetic ear. I was able to provide factual information.
Piers is worse? Maybe. But the difference is that like Jubilee is like, Jubilee, we're bringing together different perspectives to have valuable conversations. Piers is Piers uncensored. Like, you know what you're getting, right? Like it's, like I feel like it markets itself the way that it is, and I'm okay with that.
To people who may have otherwise not been exposed to it. You think about individuals who have been tricked by misinformation, especially when it came to vaccines. I thought I needed to be there for them. So I think the first episode was certainly a win, but I do take some of the criticism to heart and agree with that perhaps I was a bit too passive in the first
True.
I was perhaps too patient and therefore missed some opportunities.
To go fucking hard.
I think a tremendous disservice when somebody rattles off all of this and then Mike jumps straight to
I agree.
taking one thing they said and trying to validate them on it.
I agreed with that, and I thought I could be more direct.
Oh no, he just did it again.
For round 2. And I thought round 2 could be valuable to focus on an issue that I believe is plaguing the United States, and that issue
RFK
is the
Jr.
appointment of RFK Jr. into the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Just say RFK Jr. period. He's a plague.
Individuals who supported him, those who are part of the Maha movement, those who just love him as an individual, who love his policies. And I said, I want to debate these, but I want to debate them a little bit more direct. I want to be a little bit...
The guy, by the way, RFK Jr., the guy who doesn't believe in medication for ADHD, but says that heroin helped him get through college, by the way. That guy. Thank you.
More provocative, and there were actually times during the debate where I raised my voice, which was a little uncomfortable for me. You know, being a doctor who's trying to be as level-headed as possible all the time, that's not a position that I normally find myself in. I never raise my voice with patients, and I feel like these conversations are similar in that way, in that they should be kept very respectful. But at the same time, I thought it was valuable to show the level of passion that not only I feel, but my colleagues have been feeling for a very long time. In watching it back myself, I thought I did a pretty good job balancing being an active, empathetic, attentive listener with going to bat for my colleagues, science researchers, science in general, and allowing people just to see the flip side of the conversation, but being a good person, meaning that the people
I think he did a pretty good job the second time. Still a little bit too conciliatory, but not bad.
Like if we created a hateful relationship right at the outset, no one's mind would be changed. No one would get any meaningful value out of these interactions. And it actually worked quite well. Even walking in, I think I made a joke sitting down at the chair, which last time I didn't. I was so nervous. This time I was a little more comfortable, made a joke about the government shutdown. Everyone laughed, and kind of put everyone in a better place. And then as feedback started coming in, I saw comments from some of my colleagues, and it got me a little bit upset. It pulled at the heartstring because right now in the healthcare community, especially those who are trying their best to put out evidence-based content, we're all on the same page. We're all trying to do the best that we can. We all have different ways of doing this. I have the YouTube channel, the podcast. We do silly videos with meme reviews, more serious, hard-hitting interviews with people who've been impacted by Maha. Other people make TikTok videos, dancing with hula hoops, whatever it is. Everyone has their own little strategy. And I think that's great. I think that's the power of social media. But then when our own group starts attacking each other, that's where I feel like we're setting ourselves back, especially because the criticism that was put forth here, I think is similar to the criticism I heard starting my social media platforms. The doctors that first heard about my wishes to put out evidence-based content on social media were saying it's not valuable, it's not professional, it's not gonna help anyone, you're not changing anyone's mind. When I see comments like this about the format being bad, I feel like it's in a similar vein. It's judgmental in a way that I don't believe is beneficial to the cause of evidence-based medicine. These Jubilee debates oftentimes devolve into shouting matches, disagreements where no one comes together. I see why people criticize that. But if you took a 5-minute watch, a 10-minute watch, a 30-minute watch, if you were gracious enough to watch the entire episode, you'd see that this episode was far from that. Humans saw other humans across from them. They heard one another out. We agreed, we disagreed, we had some commonalities. Ultimately, I think that's a win. Bringing people together to discuss issues is a huge win. And what surprised me most is almost the ending of the debate. People came up to me that were debating me, thanking me for my time, for my honesty, saying that I'm different than most doctors. And while I take this compliment, I have to remind them that the doctors that they have painted in their minds, or perhaps have had negative experiences with, do not.
One thing that was, I actually don't say this enough. One thing that did come, look at this glitch. You know what I bet is happening? Somehow their database is fucked up, and they have like a database figure for displayed experience, and they have a database figure for like actual experience. And that 5% XP boost, I bet is affecting the displayed one, but not the actual XP. Because it says I leveled up, but I didn't. I'm still behind. I bet that's what's happening. One thing that people said a lot during the Republican guy, the famous Republican guy who would always host those panels or whatever, the focus groups. Fuck, I always forget his name. One thing that people found convincing was anecdote, but it wasn't just anecdote. It was actually a lot of them were saying that it was the first time they'd heard a doctor explain things to them. And it kind of sounds like obvious or self-evident or stupid, where it's like you don't know how a vaccine works. But like a lot of people don't have a lot of kind of basic information about things. And for a lot of people, just having somebody explain it for the first time is incredibly valuable because their social media feeds are so fucked, are so fucking ruined that they don't even have access to the correct information on first pass. So like the quote unquote conspiracies that they're getting are not conspiracies that are adjusting their current beliefs on vaccines. They're the first time they've even heard people talk at length about them.